Psychology in Seattle.
Hey, podcast listeners. It's number 7 of the Dungeons & Dragons therapy session demonstration.
Woo!
Welcome back to the podcast, everyone. I know a lot of you are waiting on pins and needles. Is that the right phrase?
On swords and helmets.
For the next installment of the story of Shush, Grollo, and Thrain. So let's just get into it. We have some announcements that we'll get to about halfway through, but I thought we'd just launch right into the adventuring. What do you say, Adam?
Yeah, let's do some.
Let's
do some Dungeons and Dragons.
Cool.
That sounds great. Well, true to how we always try to start our games, I want to start with a bit of a checking question for you and for your characters.
Sorry. What is this again?
This is the Psychology in Seattle podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Kirk Honda. I'm a therapist and a professor, and I play Thrain Orkshorn, a mountain dwarf cleric of Moradin. Berto, who are you?
My name is Grollo the Cruel. Well, I suppose I'm Humberto Castañeda, who plays Grollo the Cruel, and he's a half-orc with a lot of brains and a little bit of brawn, or maybe the other way around, one of the two.
So by session 12, you're going to be like, my name's Grollo, and I play a character called Humberto.
I sometimes play a character, yeah.
Out in the real world.
Adams, who are you?
I am Adam Davis, and I'm playing the character Shush, the Tiefling Bard.
And I'm Adam Johns, and along with Adam Davis, we are the executive directors for Game to Grow. And I am the dungeon master for this wonderful group of aspiring heroes.
Yes.
I'm going to try
Who you
to
calling
keep
aspiring?
this aspiring.
Aspiring. What are we, vacuum
You're
cleaners?
pretty well heroes at this point, I think. You've established yourselves as heroes.
We're trying.
You're
I mean,
trying
if we
really
die
hard.
this, we were definitely aspiring.
That's true. That's what it'll say on your
expiring.
character's gravestones.
Yeah.
So I want to ask a checking question. I want to know a little bit more. As always, we want to share a little bit about yourself and a little bit about your character, so we can continue to get to know your character better and better and better. So for our check-in question today, my question for you is, what skill do you admire, but you've never had the motivation or the time or maybe the talent in order to get better at it yet? You could still do so, but yet you have not had the.
Thanks
the
for
time
putting
to
that
get
yet
better.
in
Yeah,
there, Adam, 'cause
I have so much faith in all of you that whatever you put your mind to,
I was going to feel bad about
You
the
can
thing I was
accomplish
gonna
your
say,
dreams.
but I'm no longer.
and of course I want to know that as your character. I want you to answer that same question, but as your character, meaning in your character voice.
So as my not character, first of all, generally just mornings. Just mornings is a skill.
Just
that
handling
I
being
aspire.
awake in the morning.
Yeah, I'm just a night person generally, and so mornings are, I have these dreams of waking up extra early and getting a head start. And by the time 6 a.m. rolls around, I've already done the full SEAL Navy training. And but in reality, it's more like disaster is looming at around 10 a.m. already. But I also would love to be able to write in the morning. Or maybe even at night, but very regularly. So I've been doing that lately, and I'm learning a lot in trying to do it. And it's a skill that I want to have, is writing, especially if I could write and have mornings.
You could write in the morning.
I could write. That's maybe the trick. And then Grollo would love. I want to learn how to cook better, because I know how to fish and hunt, and then I can certainly eat raw, which is actually really delicious, but I kind of want to cook better.
Grollo, you're a big fan of like the raw food movement.
Oh yeah, Grollo's tummy is happy with raw food.
Is that so that you could learn how to make lee pies?
Well, I recently met someone that is an amazing cook, and it kind of has inspired me. It's a skill I would love to learn.
Awesome. That's perfect. Who wants to go next?
I'll go. Maybe cooking actually would be something I'm pretty bad at cooking. I've tried to. Last summer we have a gas grill outside, and so I decided I would try to become like that grill guy,
Mm-hmm.
And I watched a bunch of YouTube videos on how to make a hamburger on the grill, and it's more complicated than it looks. And the first batch went okay. The second batch was
Not okay.
horrible. Like, you cut into it, it's like all raw on the inside. And
no.
all my high school friends are mocking me and, and,
Is this a real thing that happened, or is this just
No, that's
your
real.
image of the
no, that's
situation
real.
and everything?
And then I never did it again, by the way.
They stuff you in the locker.
So I wish, no, they were, well, actually they're grade school friends.
Oh, wow.
But anyway, and then Thrain, I don't really have a voice for Thrain, right? So I would say that I would like to know more about family life because I have lived a pious life in the church for many decades. And I saw families come in and I saw families grow old in the small town. And I've never thought that I was capable or worthy or set up in life that it would make any sense. But as I grow into middle age, it's perhaps a skill that I would like to have.
Thrain, when you say family life, you don't mean like spending time with your father or
No, I
that
mean
family. You mean
starting
like,
your own.
like starting
My own family.
Little teeny
yeah.
brainies.
Like what it is to be a dad,
Yeah.
or what it is to have a wife.
Yeah.
Those kinds of experiences.
Yeah.
Very cool.
I actually have a lot of sympathy with you about cooking because I like to cook now. I feel like I'm pretty good at it, but I definitely had your story of that hamburger reminded me of a time that I cooked Thanksgiving turkey for an ex-girlfriend's whole family.
Oh.
And I set it out and I started to cut into the turkey and it just bled. It was clearly raw.
No.
And I was like, all right, well, enjoy the green beans. I'm going to put this back in the oven. In another hour or so, we'll have Thanksgiving. Everything else is hot, but go ahead. So I totally feel that. And I never did it again. I've never not cooked a turkey since then. That was 7 or 8 years ago.
But you could have learned from that.
I could have, but instead
You just avoided it.
burned that turkey so that it was not going to make any of my girlfriend's family sick.
That's it. That's smart.
Oh, you burned it.
I mean, I had to. There was no other choice at that point because they were all going to be like, "Is it done yet? Is it done yet? Is it done yet?"
Right. So it's better for them to say this is a little burned,
But
than
it's
for them to
not
be all in the hospital.
gonna give
going
anybody-
God
yeah.
damn you.
Well, turkey is weird because you never cook it aside from one day a year.
Yeah.
And it's probably one of the most complicated things because it's so big and thick, right? And it's not like meat where you could kind of get away with it being undercooked. It's like you have to.
Piece of salmon.
Yeah. Yeah, there's not like my preferred temperature turkey. Like my preferred temperature is salmonella, I guess.
Yeah.
It's like turkey farmers have to, that's their day. Like if you're a turkey farmer,
It's a big day.
That's your big money roll.
And if you're a
is
turkey man,
Thanksgiving.
that is a black week.
That's a tough time. You make it through that week, you're golden.
When you're like the skinny turkey that didn't make the cut, and you look around, it's like, what the hell happened to everyone? Where'd everyone go?
Where'd everybody go?
Yeah.
This is
Chosen last again.
I've never chosen.
Anyway, the skill that I really admire people who are super organized. Super organized. I am an idea person. I'll have lots of good ideas, and then I really admire people who are who have to-do lists and they have their calendars and they live in their to-do lists and their calendars, and that's something that I totally have the capacity to do. It's just I haven't gotten there yet.
It's like Kirk. Honda has tons of to-do lists. And
I do.
Calendars.
Yeah,
Are you
maybe
good
you
at-
should teach
good
me
at
how
organizing
to
like that?
be better with to-do lists because I have lots of to-do lists. I just don't live in them the way that organized people live in their to-do lists. Shush, I think, admires people who are committed to something. I think Shush really admires people who have honestly, Thrain probably is a good example of this because Thrain has lived a pious life in the church, and Shush has always wanted to, I don't know, wander a little bit and not be committed, and why do I need a house? Why can't I just live in this tent by the river where the bubbling brook makes a beautiful sound, and not committed to dedicated himself to a greater good.
So he may have silently started admiring Thrain.
Yeah.
Maybe do you think he's fully self-aware of what that is, or it's more like, man, I really respect something.
I think he really wants to be part of the team. I think Shush really wants to be part of the team. But I don't know if he would be as fully aware of the fact that it's
I see.
this is like the family maybe.
Something bigger.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool.
I think for me, the thing that I always wish that I could learn actually is a little bit more tech skills, especially programming. I think it would be so useful to be able to write a program.
I'll teach
to,
you programming.
to do something in my life.
I'll teach you programming.
Yeah, would you teach
Yeah.
me programming? I think that would be really cool.
You guys should trade skills. What are you going to teach?
Yeah, what are you going to teach me?
I could play piano.
I can play piano too.
Keep
going, keep going. There's gotta be something.
What other skills? I'm not good at anything. I could teach you how to be a dungeon
Do you
master.
cook? I thought you cooked. You were
I'm-
saying, "Oh, I make this great such and such."
Adam makes a mean ceviche.
I do make really good
Dude,
ceviche.
teach me how to cook. I'll teach you how to program.
Sure. Yeah.
There we go.
That sounds great.
We'll do a little skill share.
Can Kirk and I eat the food you all cook and,
And you can-
enjoy your luxurious programs?
And then I guess I'll answer for Nicholas. Nicholas. Oh, I should do the voice. I guess if I had to find a skill that I thought was really good, something that I really wanted to do, it would probably be juggling. I never really learned to juggle, and like I have a lot of friends who got pretty good at juggling, and I think that would be really cool.
I could teach you.
All right.
You know how to juggle?
Shush, I bet you Shush knows how to.
I do.
Oh,
I've
yeah,
seen
that
I've
would
seen
be-
him juggle. He's
that would
crazy.
be wicked awesome.
Like I tried to juggle and I almost killed Shush, but I've seen him juggle. It's really good.
I'm pretty good.
Could you do that thing where you like where you have like rings or whatever, and like not just balls but like rings or like can you juggle like fiery things and stuff?
Yes.
Don't do it around me though.
Yeah, that's what I really want to learn.
Perfect. Well, let's practice.
So I gotta say, I'm sorry to slightly derail this for a second, but I am extremely upset about this preview I saw for the next Star Wars, and I just want to be on the record as saying that I don't care what the explanation is. There should not have been a laugh at the end of that preview. I don't care. I won't listen. I won't like it. Nope, sir. I don't like it.
What if it's just part of the soundtrack?
It's even worse.
Like it's just like
That's
it's
even
like a remixy
cheap-
thing. They're
cheap
just
pandering.
remixing it.
It's worse. I hate it. It's Heroes season 20. All right. Thank you. Thank you for this public service.
I could see it being horrible, but I'm reserving judgment.
I haven't watched.
Oh, sorry. Spoiler alert. They ruined my life.
Who would like to? Kirk, would you like to do our recap? You're often the one doing our recap.
Sure. Since it's been a while, I actually kind of took some notes.
Oh, good
and
idea.
I made a to-do list, if you will.
What I tell you.
So various different things happened that led us to Pahiha, because we're investigating this Groomsh orc a conspiracy, shall we say, uprising. And for those out there in podcast land, you have two gods, Moradin, who is the dwarf god, and Groomsh, who is the orc god, and they always have hated each other. And the dwarf god is good, and the orc god is pure evil. And so we went investigating why everyone has been worshiping Groomsh in this town of Pahiha, which is totally bizarre, because no city out in the open in our world would worship the orc god. Only orcs out in the wastelands worship Groomsh. It'd be like the entire city of New York becoming satanic, and like every Catholic switches to Satan, and every Protestant changes to Satan.
It'd be a pretty cool like holiday,
Yeah.
like New York holiday. It would be interesting. I don't know if it'd be cool.
I think they made a movie about that called The Purge, right? The king has been persuaded by a archaeologist by the name of Lord Blancmere, who wears the Watcher's Eye necklace, which is Berto just dropped all this stuff.
Oops.
You know, I actually have a rule
Perfect
that if
20.
you drop your dice, you automatically miss.
Oh,
So you just missed like 10
just missed,
things.
like, all your
Because he
stuff.
dropped all of his dice. So the Watcher's Eye is the ancient banner of orc solidarity, if I remember correctly. Now Adam told us about a flashback that our characters don't know about, which is that many years ago, Groomsh took over Lord Blancmere's body and is living inside of Lord Blancmere's body and is using it to engineer this town of Pahiha to worship him and sacrifice to him so that he can come back and lay waste to everybody and reemerge on the planet, on the material plane, because he's always wanted to come and rule over the pesky little humans. And so we just discovered a secret sacrifice ceremony in which Sky, the orc. Was that her name? Sky?
Sky sounds familiar.
Yeah,
Okay.
she was the one in the interrogation room.
Oh, that was Sky.
Yeah.
What was the name of the orc that we saved?
You don't know that yet.
Oh, we don't-
the one that you saved.
yeah,
one in
the one that Berto likes.
Oh, that's
Cruddy.
Cruddy.
That was
Oh,
Cruddy.
Cruddy, right?
I have little hearts right here.
So Cruddy and someone else were about to be sacrificed, and we broke up the ceremony in this battle with all these priests, and there was a head orc, and we almost died, or I almost died, I should say. And that's where we left off. So we were in front of one of the main temples to Groomsh in the town of
It's
Pahiha.
a cinematic battle.
Yeah.
And I believe at the very end of that cinematic battle, you finally defeated the sort of, I guess, head ritual person. And when in defeating them, he was in the middle of basically holding Cruddy hostage. And Grollo, you split his head in half with your
Yes,
beautiful maul strike, and then ran up and caught Cruddy.
that's right.
And then Cruddy said something to you. Do you remember what Cruddy said to
She
you?
said something snarky. I didn't write it down.
she said to you, "Your breath smells like burnt lead pies."
All right.
And so
So romantic.
it's so romantic. So in this moment, you're sort of like
You know,
standing there.
Didn't I say, I know?
Oh, that's right.
Whether or not you said that before, you did now.
I did now. I know.
You Han Solo'd her.
And so as you're standing there holding her, there's this long pause. She says that to you, and you're still sort of standing there holding her. And all the bad guys now are defeated. And then you hear Nicholas sort of groan from his injuries. And then Cruddy, who's sort of staring into your eyes in this long pause moment, says, "Well, are you gonna help me up?"
Sorry, yes, of course.
And are you gonna untie me?
Yeah, I'm untying you as we speak.
That hurts. Don't do it that way.
Here, does anyone have something sharp that we could cut our ropes with?
I've got this dagger.
All right. Here, give me a hand.
So you cut through her ropes. And she kind of rubs her wrists, and she says, "Well, what took you so long?"
Well, I mean, we were looking for you actually, and I stopped because you had the lead pies were burnt, and so I was.
Those were my lead pies.
Well, I didn't burn them; they were in the thing because you were cooking, and
He's quite a good cook, actually.
yeah, I'm learning. It's it's a thing I want to get better at.
Then you will cook for me.
Oh, that's great.
Good.
Yes, I mean yes,
You will cook for me tomorrow.
I would really appreciate.
Tomorrow morning,
doing
you'll make me breakfast.
that. How early? How early in the morning?
You will in the morning when I wake.
Very well.
Good.
Shush. Make sure to wake me up early in the morning.
It might be an invitation for pre-morning activities.
I was assuming she was inviting you over tonight.
Oh,
And she kind of has her arms crossed, and she looks like upset with you somehow.
I'm sorry. I will be over as soon as you need me.
Yes, you will.
Good answer.
And she sort of looks back and forth between all of you, and then she goes, "Well,
Well, what?
you're just going to stand here? You're not going to open the door for me?
I'll open the door, of course.
Good. I would like to get back to my stand and pack everything up before it's all stolen. Thank you for watching it."
Is this door barred in any way, or is this door?
It's locked, but it's easy to unlock
Alright.
from this side.
Do I really unlock it? I probably just like.
He just busts the lock open. That's perfectly fine. Actually, as you open the door, the sound from outside of the courtyard comes flooding in. You can hear the many bands and people talking that otherwise you couldn't hear before. Opening the door breaks the silence spell.
We might still be able to play. I don't know, Shush, if you still want to live your dream.
Shush kind of looks over at our other wounded companion who we've
He's kind of like holding. I can't remember where. Does anybody remember where he got stabbed? I didn't listen to that
I
part.
don't remember.
Well, didn't he come from behind?
I thought it was from behind.
He like stabbed him, and then he was going to cut his neck.
So he's kind of holding he's like reaching behind him to hold his back and kind of take care of his wounds as best
Right.
he can.
And I think
which
Thrain
is
healed him
hard
a
to do.
bit. So
Yeah, I think Thrain did a little bit of healing if you aren't already now.
Yeah, I can heal him up the rest of the way.
we're all pretty hurt too. Like I'm at 21. I think Thrain, you were really hurt, and then you like barely heal yourself or something.
I managed to get back up to 19.
Oh, okay.
You can see Cruddy sort of looks around at the big mess that is all of these dead cultists that you have left here, and she sort of nods to herself, and then she pulls out a piece of paper and she writes down something on the piece of paper, and she hands it to you, Grollo. And she says, "Come and find me after you're done cleaning all of this up."
I will definitely read this.
Good. Read it. It is my address. You will come and find me.
Absolutely.
Good. And she leaves, and she says, "Enjoy the cleaning up of all the dead bodies."
All right. Bye, Cruddy.
And she sort of storms out. Meanwhile, the elf who was there, who was sort of watching all this, who was also being sacrificed, but who really has not said much of anything, sort of. Is
the other
looking-
guy who was tied up.
Yeah, he's also tied up,
Yeah.
and he's sort of looking at everybody, and he's like, "Any chance you could untie?"
I untie him and cut it and let him.
And then I ask him, "Don't you think Cruddy is very sweet?"
His face goes red, and he's looking at you, and then he looks back at Cruddy, who has stormed out of the front gate at this point, and he says, "Yes, a wonderful, beautiful woman,
Very sweet indeed.
very sweet.
Thrain,
sweet
can you
as,
help me?
Sweet as candy."
Yeah, shut up. I'm done with you. Thrain, can you help me decipher this thing that
Okay.
she gave me?
So I read it.
I hand him the paper.
It's an address, along with a little tiny drawing of a leapai.
Oh, it's an invitation for Leapies tonight, I believe.
No, she said in the morning.
I think she was hinting that she wants to perhaps have a chat before this evening.
Oh, I think I know your meaning. I get hungry at night too. Yes.
So
I can't wait to see where this goes.
this is gonna be great. I need everybody to roll me investigation checks, and Grollo, I'm gonna have you roll yours with disadvantage.
5.
Awesome.
I got an 8.
And 5.
Yeah.
Perfect. You don't find much of anything on these
it.
bodies,
Well, I suppose we should get out of here.
Yeah, we're in a rush. Let's go.
but even with those rolls, you still find a couple of things on the head guy, the sort of last guy that you had killed, the one that you threw the hammer at, Grollo. You find on his body, he has on him 3 books. They're sort of like small notebooks, actually not too dissimilar from this notebook, just a few inches tall and a few inches thick, or a few inches wide. They are clearly like designed to be handheld notebooks. One of them is very clearly a log book. Grollo, you wouldn't know this, but the two of you can decipher this very quickly. It's written in common. The logs appear to be people's names and then descriptors of those people and dates next to them. And then one of the other books appears to be a ritual book. The ritual book, immediately as you recognize it, you know that this is not a language that you are super familiar with. Does anybody here speak Orcish?
I speak Orcish.
Awesome. Thrain, you recognize the language as Orcish, but it is a dialect that you are not familiar with. It's like an ancient Orcish. It's like the root of Orcish.
Like a ceremonial prayer.
Exactly. So it would be the equivalent of, you can speak English, but if you read the Bible, it still doesn't always sound exactly like English because
Right.
there's lots of other terms and stuff in there.
Could he read it? And because I can't read, but I can understand Orcish, could he try to read it and maybe I could try to understand something?
Sure.
This is how the beginning of Evil Dead happened, if you recall.
Beetlejuice.
Can you try to read and maybe I can understand?
Well, hold on for a second. So I actually go over. I close the door. I go to the elf. I say, "Are you okay?
Yeah, I'm
Can
fine.
Can you go home? Are you safe?
Oh, yeah, I guess if you don't need anything, yeah.
Hey, Thrain.
Do you know why they took you?
They just-
Thrain.
What?
Can you read it out loud and maybe I can understand
Yeah,
it?
just a second.
Okay.
So, why do you think they took you?
Well, they said while they were
just
tying me up
think it's a good
that,
idea that if
I didn't have any family nearby, which is true. I sort of live alone by myself. I have a cat. He's
Okay.
very nice. His name is Whiskers.
Can I roll insight and see
He-
if this person is secretly
He's a mimic. No, I'm just kidding.
11?
That is enough. He's just a weirdo. He's not a monster. This guy is a weirdo.
They
you
chose
actually-
him because nobody would miss him.
Yeah, you're actually looking at like his clothes, and his clothes are like clearly covered in cat hair, and he's not wearing like great, he's wearing sort of like a ugly looking sweater, and
He's a
some
cat
like
lady.
slacks.
Should we invite him to be part of
He's
the team?
he's kind of a cat.
He's really lonely. I think Shush is feeling a lot of sympathy for him.
And he says like he's just describing his cat like a whole lot.
It sounds wonderful.
Whiskers, what's great about Whiskers is he has just the best personality. He's so cuddly. But
I'm
he
sorry, who-
knows how to
who
set
is
boundaries.
Whiskers?
That's my cat.
Oh,
Would you like to come meet him? I live just down the way this way. Whiskers adores meeting new people. You might get scratched a little bit, but that's just a sort of way that he likes to demonstrate his affection for you.
We
His
might
affection,
actually
yes.
take you up on that. Where do you live exactly?
I live just down the road this way. The noise has been quite a problem with all of the
Yeah,
music. I don't know if you noticed the music.
yeah.
There's a big festival going on right now.
Yeah,
It's a
well,
big-
by our uniform, we dabble in
Oh,
both
I see. You are
sacrifice,
musicians.
saving, and also we're a quartet.
I'm
Yeah.
not a musician. Or I'm fine with music. I didn't mean to offend. I'm sorry. I didn't
can
mean
you
to
get us
offend
into
you
the
in
tournament?
I have nothing to do with the
So,
tournament. Actually, I wrote a letter to the city council saying they should move it to another block over.
Yeah.
Oh, so you know the city council. You could put a good word for us in the tournament.
No, I think I may have misrepresented my. I just wrote it was sort of an anonymous letter.
Who's
I
that?
didn't. I didn't. That's just
that
that just means.
The mayor.
What's your name?
My name is Pentel.
And what's your address?
It's just down this way. It's Brook Street Road.
Okay.
Brook Street over on the side.
So there might come a
Thank
time
you
when
so
we
much for
actually
saving
come
my
to your house and meet your cat. And there might also be
Whiskers.
a time, Whiskers. There might also be a time, what's your name again?
Pentel.
Pentel. There might also be a time when you might have to tell the story of what happened today because we saved your life from the evil Grumpshites, right?
Oh, I'm not much of a storyteller.
But you remember what happened, right?
I was here.
The evil
the,
Grumsh.
The large fellow over here. He threw a thing.
Yeah.
What do you call that? Sort of a.
It's a weapon, but the
A weapon, yes, he
the
threw a weapon.
The Grumpsh worshippers were trying to kill you in a sacrificial ceremony, correct?
Oh, yes. I guess that makes sense. Yes.
That's what was happening, and
Okay, I see.
Moradin, and I show my hammer, just saved you.
Really.
Yes.
Moradin.
Yes.
Oh, I was not.
So you
You're
just
not. So you're not Grumsh.
no, we're Moradin. We're good guys.
You're
Grumsh
not the-
are bad guys. So
Shush
you
is going to walk over and cross his arms and stand next to Thrain and look like a pose for like the cover of an album.
Oh.
so you have to perhaps attest to this in the future.
We're
oh.
Moradin.
Right.
Okay. I shall,
Moradin.
You know what? You know what I'll do? I'll put it in my journal tonight.
Please.
I'll put it in my journal.
Please.
And maybe I'll write a letter to the city council. They didn't really listen to my last one, but I'll write another
No,
one.
don't write a letter.
You don't think I should write a letter?
No, because they might hurt you. So
The city council might hurt me.
Yes.
Well, they did put
Don't tell anybody
They did
up-
put the music tournament right outside.
don't tell anybody about what happened here because they might hurt you. Unless we come to you and ask you to tell the story again.
Oh, okay. So you'll come to me.
Yes.
I'll put it in my journal, but I'll lock it with the little lock on the cover.
Only tell Whiskers.
on the cover of the journal. Whiskers. It's okay to tell Whiskers.
It's
he
okay.
he is sly though.
What
He's a
about
sly.
anonymous? Is that a safe person to tell?
Who's anonymous?
Some friend of his, and he's gonna put a good word for our tournament.
No,
Yes.
that's anonymous. That's just me. I just signed the letter. That
You
just means I
lied about your name.
Yes. I guess.
How can we
yes, I
trust
guess so.
anything he says?
So I recommend you go now.
Oh, okay. Well, thank you again for saving my life, strange people.
Moradin, Thrain of Moradin.
Thrain of Moradin. Yes, thank you, all of you.
Shush of Moradin.
Oh, you're also of Moradin. Okay,
Yes, it's
that's
the
good.
name of
good
our
to know.
quartet.
Yeah.
Oh, that's the name of the band. Will you be performing here too?
We
hope
might
so.
be.
Is it saving people and performing music?
Yes.
Okay, I wasn't sure on the.
This is our new thing. Yes.
The saving people part of the music?
The music.
Kind of
Oh, I
both
see.
on some
We
level.
save people a lot.
Oh, okay. I see. Okay. Well, thank you. Thank you,
All right.
everyone. Thank you, Nicholas.
Good luck with Anonymous.
Okay.
He told me his name already.
I kind of shuffle him out the door. Shuffle him out the door.
Okay,
Close.
I'll tell Whiskers to expect
Thank
me.
you. And I close the door. Close the door. Now it's quiet again, right?
It is not quiet again.
Okay. So now I read the Orcish out loud.
Perfect.
Ganda.
As you read the Orcish out loud, so there's a couple of things that you notice just flipping through the ritual book. The first is the rituals. The ritual book is really brutal. This is not a ritual book for casual rituals.
kids.
This is not the ritual book for kids. This is the ritual book for deep
Demons.
demons and sacrifices. And so you read through some of the sections. The words themselves don't seem to carry magical stuff by themselves. All the rituals dictate that you are to, they sort of explain how you're supposed to do the ritual, and then have a series of words that are the magical phrases to go along with the ritual.
Does it have anything to do with the statue or?
Absolutely. And actually, there's only about 12 rituals that are in this ritual book, but each ritual takes up a good chunk of the book explaining all of the pieces of it.
Yikes.
The rituals, as you're reading them out loud, Grollo, to your familiarity with the Orcish language, this definitely, it sounds like an ancient Orcish, and it sends chills down your spine. In fact, it does that for all of you, whether or not you speak Orcish. The words in the ritual have a sort of visceral effect in the way that they're said and the way that they're pronounced that really brings like a chill to your bones. And Nicholas actually eventually, as you're reading through, he finally says like, stop, I can't, I don't even understand it, and I can't hear any more of it. It's too much. It's, I don't know, creepy or something.
This is quite disturbing, even for me.
Thrain, you find the ritual that was the one that they were supposed to be performing here, and it's not just a sacrifice, it's a torture and a sacrifice. It is gruesome and horrific. And the ritual, as it's seen here, you can tell because of the worn out pages and the way in which they're worn. This ritual has been performed more than once.
Yikes.
This is definitely something that is more akin to the kind of Groomsh magic and Groomsh worship that you are much more used to seeing.
Okay.
This is ancient evil.
I have an idea. You
Okay.
guys. I think
Good.
we should make a performance on stage using some of these words as lyrics to some heavy metal, and then we'll see who in the
Who
audience
reacts.
recognize it. Straight out of Hamlet.
Let's try this.
I like it. I was thinking that. I was like, how do we use the
Wait.
performance on stage?
Why don't you present this idea?
What if? Listen. Do you remember all the lyrics? I mean, the words.
Yeah.
Because I can't read that. So if you can be a vocalist, when we perform, you can sing those lyrics. You don't have to sing well, it's death metal. Just,
we need a deep,
Not a thing
growly
that currently
voice that can
exists in
sound
the-
like
in the world.
heavy metal.
but it will. This is my idea. It's loud.
I'll
It's
whisper
aggressive.
the lyrics behind Grollo's face, ear, and
All you have
you'll-
to do, Thrain, is put on a deep, growly voice, and then it'll be fine.
I think you'll be much better at this. Your voice is so much louder than mine.
I can play the tambourines like
Excellent.
like you had given me that before.
Yeah, that's true.
And what are we doing this for?
We are going to look into the audience. If anyone looks surprised or alarmed, we'll know they know something about these rituals.
And then we torture them.
Well, we nab them and put them under our spells.
Our
And,
zone of truth.
So I'll say you also find one more thing.
okay.
You also find a letter. The letter is actually in the logbook, sort of taking up a space in the logbook. And it's folded in half, and you can take it out and you unfold it. And the letter dictates, the letter is written in Orcish, but modern Orcish, not ancient Orcish. And the letter basically says, I have my notes here. The letter is to Zog the Rotten, and it is from the General Kumag Blood Crusher.
Yeeks.
And the letter basically dictates that Zog is to send himself or a representative to the Wandering Marshes in order to deliver an update on the sacrifice numbers.
They have quotas.
They appear to have quotas. I'll also say the logbook seems to dictate not just dates now, but dates in the future. It has dates laid out, and it has sometimes names and sometimes blank spaces, but the dates run out about 2 weeks out from where you are right now. And then the final date is actually circled.
I see.
Neither Shush nor I know whether people who make lists and calendars, if that's normal or if that's like an impending problem.
And I'm more like
That's just the way people do it.
Yeah. Do people plan out more than 2 weeks in advance? Or is that like in 2 weeks they're gonna bring Groomsh back from wherever Groomsh is?
I mean, as Kirk, I think that's true. As a character, I don't know if I would be able to determine that or even take a guess.
Yeah, I mean,
Do I
there's-
know that these rituals have to do with bringing Groomsh back?
That part is obvious.
Okay.
And in fact, when you read the ritual book, it's clear that the point of these rituals is to increase the presence and power of Groomsh.
so. It's basically we're T minus 2 weeks for Groomsh.
Right. So here's the basic way that it works. Gods get their power in the material realm from the worship of those who follow them. But it only works if you're actually following them by the tenets the god has put forward. So following a fake Groomsh doesn't really do anything for Groomsh. It has no benefit to him whatsoever. And the same thing would be true for Thrain. If you didn't follow the actual tenets of Thrain, or not of Thrain, of Moradin, if you didn't follow the actual tenets of Moradin, you wouldn't be giving anything back to Moradin, and Moradin in turn probably would not grant you the power that you have. That's a part of your sort of contract with Moradin. Is you serve him, and he continues to give you a little bit of his power that lets you cast spells. But the city has clearly oriented themselves towards wanting orcs around and wanting to be followers of Groomsh. This has allowed them to do stuff like have statues, have places of worship, which otherwise they would not have been able to do. But the worship that is done during the day, where people come in and they talk about how friendly Groomsh is and how he helps the children,
doesn't help at all.
that doesn't help Groomsh at all.
Well, but it might also help lure people in to be sacrificed.
Right. Or help lure people in to become part of the deeper levels of the church,
Yeah.
sort of an indoctrination idea.
The Scientology thing.
Exactly. And I mean, Scientology is great. No, I'm not a follower of Scientology. But the advantage of doing this kind of thing, and especially this kind of ritual, is that you basically create a place that is suffused with a tremendous amount of magic. The same thing would be true for worship of any god. If you had an entire city that was dedicated to worshiping a god, that place you would feel a stronger presence to Moradin if you went back to your home, where tons and tons of people worship Moradin, just like you feel a weakness to Moradin here, where there's so few actually worshiping it.
Guys, I don't know a lot of things, but I do know that orcs are relentless, and when they put their mind on something, they're gonna try to get it done. And if we just interrupt their little, death ritual, we might be expecting a lot of them to descend on this town.
Yeah, and this note seems to say that there's a out band of these Grumpshites that might need a pounding by your mall.
Ugh, I love it.
I'll also say all of you have traveled enough that you know that the Wandering Marshes are about a day or two's journey to the east, out of the city.
Okay.
Do we know, could I roll a check to know about if there's an event that would happen in the constellations or any sort of astrological event that would happen on that date?
Yeah, give me a history check. Everybody can roll this.
Okay.
History check.
Modified 20.
9.
Nice.
Not so much.
Not so much for Rolo. Shush, you've been sailing the seas long enough to know that date is important in two ways. The first is there's no moon on that date. Which is just that's the lunar cycle has resulted in there being no moon on that date.
What was the deal with the moon and the pirates? Was it when there was no moon?
It's coming back full circle now.
That is when the pirates come out is when there is no moon.
When there's no moon. Right.
The second one is that date is it is an ancient orc holiday. that basically goes back a long, long way. It represents the day that Gruumsh lost his eye. It's celebrated in some other religions because the story is that the god of the elves was the one who took Gruumsh's eye. And a lot of the orcs have restoried that to say that Gruumsh only ever had one eye.
Oh.
So that is sort of a day of blood where orcs want to come back and take back the lands that they want, and they celebrate that holiday often with a fresh spill of blood.
Whoa.
So, for the sake of the camera, maybe we should have Grollo have an interaction with Cruddy. Let's resolve to go out east to the marshes and
Right.
take on these Grumpshites.
Which means I need to say bye to Cruddy.
Well,
We're gonna leave tomorrow.
Yeah.
So we gotta go hang out with the cat.
First thing in the morning.
Yeah, we
Yeah.
gotta go
Right.
hang out with the cat
Right.
and whatever that person's name was.
yeah. So the three of us will go hang out with Whiskers and the whatever his name is, Montel Williams,
Pentel.
Pentel.
Anonymous, I thought.
Yeah, and Grollo is gonna
Grollo is going to interact with Cruddy.
have quote unquote dinner.
Grollo, you're headed to the address, which I assume somebody else would have
Yeah,
told you.
I think
what-
Thrain educated me.
Perfect. And gave you some directions.
Right.
Do you bring anything with you?
I bring my maul, of course. And then I think before I left, I asked Shush for some advice. Shush, can you give me any advice?
Cook for her and don't say anything.
Very,
I believe that was the advice
very good.
from before.
Yeah, cook for her and listen and try not to talk too much because she's expressed that she's not into you talking a lot.
All right.
Use non-verbal signals that you're paying attention, like nodding your head.
Okay. Now, what is nonverbal?
Don't say anything.
How can I ask you the question if I don't say anything?
Don't say anything to her while she's talking to you.
Okay, very good.
Don't
very good.
interrupt her.
Okay. I've got it.
You got it.
I've got it. All right.
So you show up at
Cruddy's
house.
Yes.
Cruddy lives in in the sort of downstairs room of a larger, effectively an apartment building, and she has the bottom floor of it. And as you bang on the door, you hear her shout back, "Who is it? I swear, if it's that stupid upstairs neighbor, John, if it is you again, I will come and I will crush your head with my hand." And she comes and opens the door, and she sees that it is you, and in fact, not apparently her upstairs neighbor, John. And she goes, "Oh, it's you."
It's not John. In fact, it is me. I will help you crush John if that is what you require. But I also came as we are supposed to cook some leap pies, or I will cook. I'm not meant to talk to you, but I will do leap pies.
Who told you not to talk to me?
I just,
So you're going to come in here and you're just going to stand there and cook?
yes.
All right, that sounds pretty good. And maybe I'll have you crush John later. Come in. Her apartment is actually pretty nice. She's clearly done a good job decorating it. You can see some old, actually some really interesting old orcish decorations, maybe inherited through her family. But it's clear when you are coming into this apartment, Grollo, even to you, she's lived here for a long time. Maybe this was her parents' place before it was hers. You can see lots of like older furniture, and you can see pictures or drawings, actually sketches of her and her family, and you're starting to get like a little bit better sense of Cruddy as a person. Cruddy comes in and then gestures to the kitchen, and then crosses her arms and stares at you.
Oh boy. I can tell you really don't leave the house much.
What is that supposed to mean?
I mean,
you're
that-
saying I'm a shut-in?
No.
I'm here by myself with my cats?
No, you've been here for a while. I mean,
I imagine Shush is listening at the window and is like gonna cause some sort of distraction by like making a bird sound or something, so that it'll like remind.
right.
Let us
We're
stop.
playing a little Roxanne
Yeah,
here.
yeah, that's
All right.
exactly what I'm thinking. I'm a little Cyrano de Bergerac.
So I
here.
see you, and I'm like, ugh. I mean, you've been here a long time.
Oh, you're trying to say I'm a hoarder. I keep too much stuff. I've been here too long. I've collected so much.
Right, a hoarder, exactly. So what I want to say is,
Bird sound.
this looks like a great house.
It is a great house, regardless of what you say.
All right, let me. If you were going to cook, how do you like to start usually?
If I make lead pies,
Yes.
well, I would start with the meat.
Right.
You need to boil it.
Right. Where do you keep your meat?
I keep a goat in the closet over there.
Very well.
It is a dead goat. It is goat parts.
So I pull out my maul.
And just start bashing the. What? No, that's terrible. You're doing a terrible job.
Sorry. What would you like? Do you have a knife? A sharp knife?
Yes, to your right.
Oh, all right. Slice.
better.
Slice. Now I'm really good with knives.
As you're focused, she sort of watches you for a long time, and then while you're focused on cooking, she starts to talk.
Okay.
She says, "That's not bad. You're not doing a bad job. Maybe you've made this before. Have you made lead pies before? I don't actually want to know. What I want to know is what brought you to the church that you knew how to find me."
Well, we were going to participate in a music tournament, and we have a friend that's going to put a good word in with Anonymous.
Oh, that explains your ugly sweater.
Yeah, well, it's a costume. Yes.
Oh.
Yeah. And but on the way there, I can't remember, but we had a reason because we're investigating the town, and there's these bad people, and we are good people, and so then I jumped and I hit the thing, and
Your story is terrible.
well, I mean, we saved you,
Yes, I liked that part.
right? Okay.
Good job.
Do you have any salt or what?
Yes, the spices are on the rack to your left. Grollo, give me a cooking check. You can make this there's not really like a cooking skill. You can make it survival.
+3. Okay. 14.
14. Grollo, you do not do the worst job, especially because you're pretty nervous about it.
Yeah, I'm dropping everything.
And she watches you the whole time, clearly like judging you on your.
Can I play some music from downstairs on the violin? And
Can you help me? Can you do a
little
little
bardic
magic?
inspiration? I was
Yeah,
gonna
yeah.
bardic inspiration for cooking.
Yeah, go ahead and add an extra. What is it? A D6 for bardic. Add an extra D6 on top of that.
What does the song sound like?
My hope is that like she looks up at him and they make eye contact. And
Is
then
it
it's
like-
wow?
Okay.
Is it like Le'Veon Rose?
Your
or something?
added one.
your eyes.
Oh,
It added one,
it'd be a
so it's
90s
15.
song.
Sweet child of mine.
She immediately, as you start like playing the music, she like is staring at Grollo, and then finally she goes, "That'll be that upstairs neighbor John," and she takes a broom and she starts banging on the ceiling. But you don't stop. You keep going along with that, and she sort of rolls her eyes and she goes, "All night he's doing that. He complains about my noise and the smells from my kitchen.
The neighbors are the worst.
Aren't they terrible?
They
They're
are
just
worse.
awful."
They are.
So romantic.
Anyways, so at this point, I usually put it in the oven.
That would be the right way to do it if you want to cook
That's what
a
I'm
pie.
saying, right?
Yes. Good.
Right.
Now sit
Very well.
over here. That is my comfortable chair.
Oh, this is very comfortable.
Good.
Yeah. Would you like to sit?
No. Yes, I will sit.
Maybe you can sit
I'll sit over here.
right next to Grollo.
That's acceptable.
Very good.
This is getting uncomfortable.
She sits down. She sits down next to you and she says,
Thanks.
"So, your family came from here?"
My family, I am half orc,
I am too.
and my father was a monster. But I have fond
I
memories
thought your
of my
father was
village.
an orc.
He was an orcish monster. He destroyed the village I come from.
She like takes a long moment and she looks at you, and this is maybe the first time you feel like she's not angry at you. And she stands up and she takes something down off the wall. It looks like kind of a shadow box. And she hands it to you and she says, "My mother was an orc. She grew up in this city. among all of the terrible things that people called her.
Ooh.
But she kept all of her orc heritage with her. And with it, she'd passed many of those traditions on to me. She's the one who taught me how to make lipies.
Oh.
And my father loved her all the same, even with all the hate that he got from everyone. And this is not much better. And she looks out the window, and you can see that there's actually like there's lots of churches of Grumsh. Some of them are really big churches, but there's actually across the street from her house, there's like a smaller church that is over there. And she looks out the window at it, and she says, "This is not better. They are not good representation of orc culture. Their love for orcs is just as bad as the hatred for orcs that we once had."
So my father would have been a Grumsh supporter, and my mother would have liked you.
Well, my mother did not worship Grumsh. She worshipped Lorleth.
Do I know who Lorleth is?
You do not.
Who is Lorleth?
She says, Lorleth is an appreciator of tradition
I appreciate tradition
and story.
and story.
Lorleth is not a very well appreciated god among the orcs, but a god nonetheless.
I would like to know more about Lorleth.
She says, really?
I do. I love tradition. I appreciate stories.
She kind of frowns and she looks over at the oven. She says, well, we have 5 minutes. And she pulls out what appears to be she actually opens up the shadow box and she pulls out like a little, little journal. It's not too dissimilar from like a small Bible. And she opens it up and she starts reading you stories of Lorleth. Lorleth she reads a couple of stories in just the 5 minutes. Lorleth, as she would present it to you, is much more a god of holding tradition, but in the ways of strength that the orcs have that you have not really gotten a chance to know from the orcs. It maintains the idea of like physical strength and physical ability are strong tenets of the orcs. But it also maintains that the god Grumsh was the one that set orcs on a poor path to begin with. That orcs were given their homes because they were given the short straw of placement from all the gods. But that Grumsh was the one who encouraged them towards war.
I see.
Whereas Lorleth was actually an orc herself, who grew up under all of the orc traditions, and then left the orc tribes, even as they were banded under Grumsh, and went and formed her own faction, I guess, for lack of a better term. She went and formed her own family. She actually calls it her family in the stories that are presented. And Lorleth, the tenets of Lorleth appear to be more about family and tradition, and a recognition that the lands that were given to the orcs while they were not as fertile and not as plentiful as other lands, gave them the opportunity to have many other rich things like their food traditions and like their culture that they didn't get to have otherwise. And so Lorleth basically took a bunch of orcs and left the teachings of Grumsh and went and formed another faction. And when Lorleth died, she left all of her writings to other orcs. Lorleth was also a big believer in the idea of teaching orcs to read and write, something that Grumsh never cared about.
I never knew all this.
She says Lorleth is not well appreciated, and she kind of closes up her book, and she says, "Your pies are burning."
Oh, sorry.
Use the gloves.
They don't quite fit.
Oh, use the towel.
These smell yummy.
They smell terrible,
Oh, sorry.
but you should bring me a slice.
Very well. Slice.
She sits and she eats the pie, and you wait in anxious anticipation as she takes the first bite. And she chews it a little long and then swallows it. and then turns to you and she says, "Acceptable."
Oh, thank you. It's actually not very often that I cook, but I'm trying to become a better cook.
You could learn a lot.
I sure can, and I think I would appreciate any tips.
She says, "Yes,
Very
you
good.
maybe have some skill, some talent, perhaps.
So do you, perhaps.
In that case, maybe I will show you something in the morning." And with that, we're going to use a thing that I like to use in Dungeons & Dragons, where we're going to fade to black.
Nice.
Thank God.
Pow, chicka, pow, pow.
Wait, there should be a roll. I want a roll. Come on. There's got to be. Let's just have them roll a 20, and we'll all imagine what it means. So
Go ahead and roll a d20.
16.
16
Not
Oh, plus, actually,
An athletics roll.
plus.
it's an athletics roll.
athletics plus 5.
Whoa, a 21.
20. Oh, yeah, 21.
Okay. We all know what that means.
We don't
even have to say what it
Say the
means.
leap
All sorts
pies
of
were
things from that.
delicious.
All right, so let's take a break, and when we get back, let's continue Grolo's adventures with Cruddy.
That was surprisingly romantic.
All right, we're back from the break. So I thought we would do some little things here. First off, we had listener Daniel, sent in some artwork about our adventures in D&D land. And so we need to name an NPC after him at some point. I'm imagining in the marshes, one of the evil people could be.
We're gonna kill. We're gonna
evil
kill
orc
Daniel.
Daniel. Who knows? We missed an opportunity with Montel Williams, but what are we going to do? So we'll try to remember that. Lou wrote in and said, "Hey guys, my flatmate recently made me listen to your D&D therapy sessions, and I'm loving it so far. I have a question. I'm DMing my own campaign right now. My partner's character has a really traumatic backstory, and from what they told me about their own past, a lot of it is similar to their own traumatic history. They are really attached to this character so much that it gives them anxiety sometimes, and I'm asking myself if they aren't maybe reliving those experiences through the character. I don't want to take this character away from them, but I also don't want to help them trigger themselves from their past trauma. So what are the consequences for this? By the way, your podcasts are super great and interesting. Thank you for what you do. Adam, what do you think?"
So a couple of things. One of the things that we always say whenever we're telling people who are playing Dungeons and Dragons with challenges at the table is, if you're not a therapist, don't be a therapist. It's just always a good disclaimer to give out, never to be a therapist. But there's a lot of opportunity that just playing Dungeons and Dragons or playing a role-playing game can present when coming to the table. It gives you a chance to sometimes work out past things and work out past pieces. The biggest piece here is that you need to set up a framework for consent and a framework for the person to be able to have control over what happens to their character. You never would want to force them into a situation where they're having to be re-traumatized by that. But you also don't want to put that trauma into the game. So if there is an opportunity for you to avoid those traumas in the game, that might be a good idea. That might be a good chance to say that's a little too far to get into this game to very directly face that.
Yeah, along those lines, and that's great. I think, as you so well know, you would know that stuff. Would that involve maybe even asking them prior to beginning the adventure? It's like, so this adventure might head into this kind of content. How do you feel about that?
There's some really good strategies that we use with our players, and we recommend every game master do with their players, and it's often called a session zero. And a session zero is ideally it happens before the first time you play, but you can really do it at any time. But the idea of a session zero is you sort of establish your table rules, where we oftentimes will do what's called a no list and a please list. and then I hand everybody a 3x5 card, and at the top I will write no. I literally just did this yesterday. I'll hand everybody and say, this is your no list. This is everything that you do not want to have in this game. You don't have to explain why you don't want to have it in the game, but I'm assuming that this is something that causes you some sort of deep personal rejection, and I don't want you to reject this game, so I'm going to give you this card. And yesterday I had stuff like no homophobia in the game, no torture in the game, no sexual content, no foul language was something that this young person was particularly bothered by. So that no list is a great way to particularly put things off limits. I don't want to have sexual violence in the game. I don't want to have kids being hurt in the game. Just don't want to have it. It is a trigger. Triggers are sometimes an overused word, but it's something that I don't want to have in the game, right? And then I also give everybody a card with a please list. And the please list is things you do want to have in the game. And sometimes that's, I want to have a Megazord in the game, which I literally had that and made it happen, we'll say. But sometimes that's like, I want to have strong female characters. I want to have characters in power that don't have British accents, whatever it might be, right? That's just like a thing that they want to advocate for. And so I would say to your listener, our listener, to do something like that, where they have an opportunity for that person to put their limits out in the open, for the group to know. At least they can also make their limits anonymous, something that everybody knows. I get a no list from everybody, and then I keep them confidential, but I read them out loud, so nobody knows who said no sexual violence or whatever. But we make that very explicit, so none of the other players bring it up.
I love that. That's awesome.
The other thing that is a huge resource for trauma is what is referred to as the X card, and it takes a couple of different forms depending on how a game master and a group wants to use it. But basically, it's once again, you can have a 3x5 card with a big red X written on it. And you can either have everybody has one, or there's one in the center of the table, depending. And if something hits a trigger point for somebody, they can either hold up their X card and show it to everybody, flip over the X card, however you want to use it. It's a non-verbal signal that's pre-established that anybody can use at the table, and then the outcome of that use is also something the group establishes. So it might be something like, when you flip the X card over, your character becomes an NPC. And then you can get up and go take a break, to get a drink of water, whatever. It could be we pause the game for 5 minutes and discuss what happened. The group can sort of decide how they want to do that.
Wow.
But that gives the person an opportunity if something does become triggering for them or problematic for them. They don't have to have that like sense of self-advocacy necessary to interrupt the game and say, hey guys, this is something that bothers me, because we've established ahead of time there's sort of a non-verbal signal with the card that makes it safe to interrupt the game.
Yeah, and I suspect, knowing you, Adam, that you sell it really well at the beginning in the way that you're doing right now. You don't just sort of say, so there's this X thing, and if you ever get uncomfortable, like you're really like
So I forget what it's for, but whatever. It's there.
You're trying to infuse a culture among people where they own that process and they know it well and they feel like they get it and they can use it and they have the agency around it.
It's about power. It's about empowerment.
Yeah, so it sounds like you have a discussion. What will this mean for the group? And they talk about it, sort of gets that into their skulls, like what exactly that means.
That's
And
really
repeat it.
great.
Bring it back up. Bring it back up every other session and say, hey, just a reminder, this is how the X card work. We all agreed on that. I just want to make sure everybody's on the same page and remembers that that's a resource for you.
Yeah, because I was going to ask you guys if you ever establish like safe words, and it sounds like this is a nonverbal safe word.
It's basically a safe word.
Interesting.
The last thing that I'll say just around this particular subject, there's a great technique that Adam and I will occasionally steal from a couple of other RPGs, where when you're going to play out a scene, rather than making the scene a mystery to the players involved, you can outline what the scene is going to look like. You can outline the start of the scene and the end of the scene, and then let the players interact to fill in the scene in the middle. So we just did this great scene with Grollo and Cruddy, but one way I could have done that is I could have said, Grollo, we're going to end this scene. This is where this scene is going to end. It's going to end with like you and Cruddy getting along and maybe fading off into black as you spend the night there. Like that can be the predetermined outcome of the scene, and then we can still role play out all the stuff in the middle. That's still just as much fun. So a lot of the times if I think I might be hitting a scene that might be particularly challenging for a player to do, what I might do is I might outline it ahead of time and say, hey, Adam, we're going to play out a scene where Shush is encountering his long-lost brother. At the end of the scene, you and your brother are going to get into an argument and then are going to split. And that's going to be the end of the scene. So we'll play it out however it's going to go, but I want to let you know that this is going to be the end of the scene as it plays out, and then we'll see how we get there.
Yeah.
And now it's a collaborative thing that we're going to build together, and now you have lots of power to understand where the scene is going and what it's going to result in.
Yeah, I think that's great. So to the listener, if I think because the other things are more like akin to therapy-esque playing, but I think that one would be pretty easy to infuse into a regular Dungeons and Dragons game, where you're just like at the beginning, you're just like, so we're not just gonna play like a regular fight battle here. It's gonna be kind of involved in this. These are going to be the elements. You know, how do you feel about that?
You can disagree up front. It's like, well, I don't want it to end like that. Or,
Well, but even if, so the thing I'm worrying about is that the player that they're concerned about is shy about their own advocacy and their own agency, and might want to blend in, but is slowly being kind of triggered occasionally. And the main thing to triggering is not knowing where things are headed. Is like, I don't know, like for me, when I'm watching the Grollo Cruddy scene, I'm over here watching it going, I have no idea where this is headed. And I'm kind of anxious personally, because I'm like, is Cruddy going to throw him out the door? Are they going to run upstairs and crush John's head? You know, like there was, you know, some real anxiety, but
I was anxious too.
because I don't have trauma around that, like it wasn't triggering for me. If I did have trauma around that, my body might be flooded. Whereas if I knew ahead of time, this is basically what's going to happen. Cruddy's going to give him some crap, but if Rollo plays his cards right, then things will probably work out and there'll be a fade to black at the end. And I'd be like, for me, that would have ruined it for me, because I wouldn't have been on the edge of my seat the entire time.
Right.
But if I had a propensity for being triggered, that would have definitely helped me.
Right.
And it's a different experience. Even if you had been told what was going to happen ahead of time, you might not have had your edge of seat anxiety, but we still could have cracked all those jokes, and we still could have had the fun of role playing it out. So to some extent, I want to create anxiety for all of you, for my players at the table, because that anxiety is an emotional response. That's a thing that I want to give you so that you can have that in the game. It can put you on the edge of your seat. It can make you feel more connected to the story or to what's going on. But for somebody who has experienced trauma and anxiety that reminds them of the trauma they've experienced, it's not a fun feeling. It's not a fun place where they want to be, and it may be overwhelming for them.
Yeah.
The other things that Adam said, he said he incorporated the Fade to Black, and that's also a tool. So the X card and the Session Zero that's not like limited to our group. So we really want every game master to do that with their players, because you never know, like you said, you never know what's going to be somebody's trigger. So to give everybody the power to X card, just we go into a place. A lot of game masters like to have really dark, gritty content. Dark, gritty content is also more likely to be traumatizing or triggering to people who have experienced trauma. So the X card is something that the group can establish a norm, because nobody knows when their trigger is going to show up. If we go into a dungeon and there's people chained on the wall, and for some reason, like, that's typical of dungeons, they're places where people get locked up. But for some reason that, like, I wasn't expecting it or whatever, and that was traumatic to me. There's a couple of different tools that any game master can have to change it. You can also say, like, I want to rewrite that. Whatever sort of tools you establish, and empower the players to have a voice. Otherwise, the players are trapped.
Right. And no dungeon master wants to traumatize their players.
No
They're
good
just
dungeon
trying to
master
be
does, yeah.
entertaining, and maybe they don't know. And then, so if having these tools is a way for players to speak up without feeling like they're interrupting the flow or insulting or taking over, because it's the culture in Dungeons and Dragons is players don't say, I don't like this storyline. Like that's not cool. Like, you're not supposed to screw with, the dungeon master's flow. Another email here from Kate. She writes, "Good evening, Kirk and Adams." Sorry, Berto, she left you out. I'm a Master's of Social Work student at Portland State University in Oregon. I did a presentation this evening on Game to Grow and Critical Core.
Whoa.
That's great.
And the utilization of D&D as a therapeutic intervention. In order to make the presentation a bit more entertaining, I created a short adventure for my peers in class. I hope I did you guys justice. Looking forward to your next D&D podcast.
Awesome.
Nice.
That's great.
And she sent her PowerPoint, which I can show you later, but it's interesting because it kind of goes through everything that you guys talk about.
That's really great.
And I'm also trying to, she said that there were 15 people in the class, so I'm trying to imagine like a 15-person dungeon, adventure.
But I actually once ran a very, very short Dungeons and Dragons example with an audience of people, where what I did was I split up the room into basically like columns of like you all of you on to the right here are all the dwarf cleric, and all of you in the middle here are all the human fighter, and all of you to the left here are all the elf wizard.
And they had to like agree on what their move was.
No, I just had him shout stuff out. But it worked actually pretty well.
Whose line is it anyway?
Whose line is it anyway?
So what Kate is talking about is Critical Core, which is available at criticalcore.org. The Kickstarter is on its way. Lots of people have signed up for it. We've had a huge response, which means that we can actually go ahead with fulfilling those orders and sending everyone the Critical Core box set, which is a set for people to use Dungeons & Dragons for therapy, group therapy, I guess family therapy, couples therapy, in classrooms, parents with their students, parents with their kids, teachers with their students, and community building. And it's the culmination of many years of Adam and Adam's work, and is perfectly set up to help you, get started with it. And the other thing I want to mention is that we're sort of in the throes of a phase at Game to Grow where we're expanding the groups beyond Adam and Adam. Adam and Adam have been running all the groups. They've been the people who have been they've been the executive directors, the visionaries. They go to the conventions, they do all the interviews, and they run all the groups. But now we're like, look, if we're going to spread the model, we need other people to be doing this. And so we've been hiring dungeon masters to run groups for kids that are coming to Game to Grow to benefit from this model. Primarily, it's young people, teenagers, young people of all genders, saying that they would like to have a place where they can work on their self-esteem, their social skills, have some fun, and normally they get dragged to therapy and they're not so into it, but they come to this thing and they love it and they want to come all the time, and they make friends and they have similar interests. And so we're hiring people, and eventually we want to actually spread to other cities. We're not at that phase right now, but we will be eventually. And so any of you out there, particularly you therapists out there, but really we hire non-therapists as well. It's just people who you think can be a dungeon master in a therapeutic way with a group of young people and follow the model. You get training, you get paid, and it's fun work. So email Adam and Adam at, what's the email address?
I think for that it would be jobs@gametogrow.org.
Jobs at gametogrow.org, and you can because we're in the next couple years we'll definitely be expanding even further, right, guys?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Anything else you want to say?
I want to say that we are fully funded on Kickstarter, but one of the funding levels, so I'm not going to say that we need your funding to make this project successful, because it's already very successful. But I will say that we have funding levels where even if you are someone who supports this kind of work and you want it to be more out there, let's say you're not a therapist, you're not a doctor, you're not don't have a group of kids who you want to help improve their social skills, but you still like the idea of this project, we have funding levels that will let you donate a kit to a hospital, a school, or a community center. So even if you are not sure you want to play D&D with kids, but you would like to see this project out there, you can still go to criticalcore.org and support the project so that more kids have more opportunities to play role-playing games to improve their lives.
Is there a designation on the Kickstarter that, like a click, you're checking a box saying, I don't want a box, but I want to donate a box somewhere?
Yes, you can either get a box just donated, or you can get one for you and for a donation, and then the higher funding levels have all of the higher funding levels all give a kit to another donation location as well.
Yeah, one of the things that Adam and Adam have been doing for a long time is making all these connections with various different organizations that are interested in this work or even doing it and would definitely be interested in the kit. So it's not like these donated kits will be sitting in a warehouse somewhere. They're already earmarked. So please do that. All right. Anything else?
No, I think that's good.
All right. Let's do it. Let's get back to...
Do you guys know what I just got in the mail recently?
What?
I bought on eBay a Heroes Quest. Remember the board game Hero Quest?
Is that the one where...
It's like a D&D but like a simplified D&D. Comes with little figurines.
Oh my God.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
if you look right over there, last night I bought a Dungeons and Dragons board game.
Wrath of Ashar-Dalan.
That's like the newest D&D board game. But what you have
This
is
was like
an
a
older
simplified, yeah.
non-TSR.
Yes, exactly. But I played it when I was a kid with my brother and stuff.
Yeah, I think I might have had it. Did it have like a prop in the middle that you're trying to get to?
Yeah, it had all these props like with trapdoors and like with
Yeah,
little bad guys.
You're trying to work your way through the
Yes.
dungeon on this board.
Yes, that's
and
right.
like each of you has a fighter or a
That's
thief
right,
or
that's
something.
Did it have actual props like Mousetrap?
Like it just had little tiles, and then the tiles, and then some other things kind of are 3D printed or not 3D printed.
We should play that on
They're
your.
plastic.
We should play that on your YouTube channel.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah, that's a cool idea.
Yeah, because that's like one of my when I was a kid things. So all right, sounds sweet. Let's do it.
Well, I guess let's jump back into our game.
Yeah.
So we just played out a whole scene that Grollo was doing, but you guys had suggested the idea of reading these lyrics as a part of the music festival that's currently going on. So
Yeah,
I'm
I
curious,
mean-
would you have gone to do that before Grollo went to?
Well, let's role play that talk out. So Shush, I think the idea is good, and we could still do it if you want. I imagine the same goal could be got if we just go to the marshes, but I'm up for justice any time of the day.
How many days of the music festival are there?
There's one more day to the music festival.
do it tomorrow.
You could do it the next night. Yeah.
That would be a great closure after we kick some skulls.
Well, we have to go to the marsh a couple days out, and then whatever happens there, and if we come back, so it'll be a number of days before we're back.
So if you go to the marshes tonight, the music
We
festival.
can't go
will
to
be
the
over.
marshes tonight because
I have
Well,
to
if you go to the
cook
marshes
some-
he's
early-
cooking
in the morning.
leaf pies.
Yeah.
He's quote unquote cooking leaf ice.
That's a new euphemism. If you go to the marches in the morning, you will miss the last day of the festival.
I think if you want to look, this is your dream. We
You're not here for this conversation. You're with
Oh,
Cruddy.
I thought we were talking about this before I left.
no,
this-
you're with Cruddy.
This
Oh,
whole
I
conversation could have happened before you left.
Oh, okay, okay.
Yeah.
Because we were just he was just
'Cause you guys were
explaining
there.
the idea.
Okay.
And so I'm saying like this is your dream. We could do this quickly before I cook some leaf pies.
Can we go that far back? No. Can we try this idea out before he goes to cook lead pies? Like
Yeah.
we can do the whole performance thing before.
Yeah.
Okay, we're just
we're rolling back. So
Rolling
to
back.
all of you kind of clearing up and figuring out what you're going to do while you're in the church.
Okay.
And it's the early evening at this point, so there's not any particular.
This is a
it's-
Quentin
it's-
Tarantino story.
yeah.
Like you see what oh, you know what would have been hilarious?
Is if Grollo had like
yeah, exactly.
like a
Oh, the
giant-
sweater. There was something about the sweater.
a giant like wound in his head or something.
Right.
Yeah.
But remember she commented on the sweater?
Yeah.
Okay, something's gonna happen with the sweater.
yeah.
All right.
Okay.
So all you really know is that Grollo apparently makes it out of whatever this music festival thing is alive.
Right.
That's true. That's
by,
true.
by necessity.
And I'm not like crying or anything, so maybe everyone made it okay.
right.
All right.
Okay, so you guys are going to sign up for the music festival, and then if I'm getting the plan right, you're going to perform music, but the lyrics are going to be the lyrics of one of these rituals for
Yeah.
for this thing, just to see if people in the audience recognize it.
Thrain is gonna whisper, and I'm gonna repeat what he's saying.
And then, do you have a plan for what happens if people in the audience recognize it? Is there something you want to do with that? You just want to get an idea for how many people there are, or are you going to like run out into the audience and try to kill all of them at that point?
Maybe we should tell someone we trust to like write down names,
Yeah. And then afterwards.
and we'll put them in the truth booth.
yeah.
And mostly, I'm there because I want to support Shush's dream.
Well, I will be watching the crowd, and if I see anyone that recognizes it, I will switch the lyrics because that's all I need to know. Is just I just need to see somebody because we don't. If best case scenario, only one person kind of really gets
Because
it.
if the whole crowd gets
'Cause
it,
if the
we
whole-
might be in trouble.
They're all
Right.
gonna sing along with us, and they all know the lyrics.
So, and if the whole crowd gets it, then I'll shut it down also.
Right.
And-
So it's
and be
really
like-
just a way to like test the waters, like how many
see-
people in this city
Yeah. And
are,
then, like,
are true worshippers of Grimsh.
I'll watch. I'll zero in on somebody and then wait until
And
just
you could
and if they
probably-
start running, I'm gonna run after.
Yeah, you
them.
can probably slink off, and I'll start making some hilarious
Yeah.
lyrics on the fly.
And I think maybe I'll like jump into the audience and do a little crowd surfing.
Yeah.
It's been a dream of mine.
So me and Nicholas will be the only.
the only ones up on stage.
Yeah. Well, he's got the outfit, the Guar outfit.
But if Threan has to run off, I'll also run, and we'll make
And
it
make it look like a thing.
exactly.
Yes.
Well, it'll look like
Yeah.
a thing.
Like you're engaging the audience.
All right.
Awesome. Everybody, roll me roll me a deception check.
10. Well, so is this the beginning of our time of our performance?
This is actually you trying to talk your way into this music festival.
9 for me.
I got an 8. That's sort of my thing, and I got an 8.
I will roll for Nicholas as well.
I'm totally depleted on spells and healing and everything, by the way. So don't get injured.
Why do we? I thought that guy was gonna get us into the festival.
No,
He has connections in the city.
forget about that
council.
guy.
As you guys go out into the festival, you search for a little while to find somebody who looks like they might be in charge of festival activities. But eventually you find somebody with like a clipboard, and they clearly are directing people places. And as you approach, you're all wearing these ponchos, and you're all clearly dressed as a band. And this person looks you all over and says, let's see, what voice do I want to give them?
Remember your little tips: fast, slow, nose, teeth.
Well, what do you call yourselves?
We're Moradin.
Moradin?
That's the name of our group.
That's wonderfully poignant.
Yeah, it's very poignant.
Well, let me see if I have you on the list here.
I'm gonna cast minor illusion and make it on the list.
Give me- I guess it's a check for them. They did not succeed on that.
There it is, right there.
Right at the
Top
bottom.
billing.
This says you're on in 2 minutes.
Yes, we are.
Are you ready to perform?
Of course we are.
Moradin, I haven't heard of you at all.
You wouldn't.
My name is Daniel. I'm your sound check. We'll get you up on stage. You're on stage 3 right over here. And do you need anything? Any instruments?
We have most of the instruments. I do need. Or do we need some drums? I suppose.
There are drums. There are some drums on stage
Fantastic.
if you need those.
Pyrotechnics.
Pyrotechnics.
Yes, we need to make sure the audience is illuminated. With some fire, maybe.
I'll talk to my stagehand.
Perfect.
And I need a drink.
Oh yes, he must perform.
Lubricated.
It's a thing.
You didn't bring one with you? No. I'll see what I can do. 2 minutes is not a long time.
2 drinks is fine. That's fine.
No, Daniel is clearly doesn't have time to to deal with Grillo. Ushers you all onto stage and says, "You have all of you're ready to perform, right?" I've never
Yes.
heard of you. I hope that it's good.
Yes,
we
we're
were
ready.
born ready.
The way that this music festival is put together is that there are a whole bunch of stages that are all in basically laid out in the streets. And this particular part of town has really wide streets. It actually has these big courtyards that kind of break up huge portions of the town. But the stages are all set up so that they are sort of competing with each other on sound, which means that the whole festival is really loud. But when you get close enough to one stage, they have some magical devices that are basically set up to amplify your sound, so that it will come out of the stage, and the people who are closest to the stage will hear you pretty well. They will definitely hear you over the other stages that may be
nice.
that may be nearby.
We should have that technology in real life.
Right. So the stage that you're on, because of the way that it's set up, basically the stages that are the most popular have the most people around them because they're trying to get as close to the stage as possible so they can really hear the music that you're playing. Which means that as you're setting up, there's no one playing music at that stage, so there's no one around your particular stage. So you're setting up all of your stuff. Daniel eventually comes back with a couple of basically a beer and a shot for Grollo, and sets them on the stage. And Daniel's talking to a couple of other people and says, do you need anything else for your performance? Anything I should let them know about? The one of my stagehands says they have some minor pyrotechnics they can set up for you about halfway through the song.
I might need a new violin.
I cannot help you with that. That is
I'm supposed to use it later, and I wanted to destroy this in a...
Daniel rolls their eyes. And,
Do you make
says,
any improvements or repairs to malls?
No.
Okay.
Are you using it as an instrument?
Oh, no. This is just my personal mall.
Then no.
Very well.
Daniel, is that your name?
Yes.
Are you an artist as well?
No.
I thought I saw some of your art on a display outside.
Actually, on the back of Daniel's clipboard sheets, you can see that Daniel has some artwork that has been done there, and Daniel blushes and says, "I just draw for myself."
Oh, well, it's very good.
Daniel kind of hides a smirk and says, "Thank you." But they're here to hear your music, not see my art. And hurries off in front of the stage and says, "You're live in," and then motions with.
I grab a drum.
As he's doing that, I'm drinking both almost at the same time. I'm like, oh.
I cast light on top of Grollo's head.
Perfect.
What the?
Yeah. First, I want to know: do you guys do so? Light's a great Grollo. You now have a spotlight.
Yeah,
coming down on top of you.
So I accidentally spilled half of my beer on my on the sweater that I had.
Perfect. Your sweater is now soaked in beer down the
and this
down
is
the
like
front.
that dark, thick, muddy beer.
Yeah. And then what are the rest of you doing for your
I'm
performance?
standing
How do
behind
you wanna-
Grollo, getting ready to and I actually pull out the book and I'm starting to recite it.
Is Thrain going to attempt to look like he's a performer on the stage, or is he going to
I have a book. I have a drum. I'm just going to be hitting the drum, and I'm going to be
but
reading.
also reading.
But I'm going to be hiding behind him, kind of.
Is he like a bongo
Yeah.
or something like that?
Yeah.
Perfect. And then Shush, I'm assuming you're playing.
And I've got. So are there microphones, or you just no? It just amplifies.
It looks like they have sort of a array of wands actually
Right.
that are set up at the front of the stage that are
no
pointed at
microphones,
you, and the wands appear to be amplifying
Got
the
it.
sound out from the
Okay.
from the place where they're sort of set up.
I've got my maul in one of my hands, and it's probably gonna get a little dangerous on stage because I'm gonna be swinging it around for effect.
Perfect.
And I'm peeking out into the crowd, kind of looking around while I'm, doing this from the shadows, sort of a thing.
Awesome. Everybody roll me performance checks. And of course, Nicholas is in the back in his
Guar
outfit with
outfit.
a poncho over top top of it because he's still wearing the uniform.
I got a 4.
Grollo, you can roll yours with advantage because you've got the spotlight from Thrain.
Okay. Oh, it's not much better, but 5. 5. That's it.
Well, our performance is not as important.
Well, it's gonna be interesting.
I got a 21.
Okay, so you're
Actually,
well. You're a great, and this is all your.
Yeah, this is very appropriate.
So-
Nicholas did pretty well too. He's actually gotten pretty good at that tambourine that he's clanging away.
So my vocals are gonna be amazing.
So first, Adam, what kind of song does this sound like? You give me like a reference point or something.
The reference point would be something like System of a Down or something like that, where there's a slow part where you can say the lyrics. Nice. And then we do a really fast part where it's like, and then we slow down and you say the lyrics again, and then that's when Thrain can look out and see anybody. And that's when when we hard the screaming part. That I'll participate. I'll take the lead on that since we can talk about lyrics. And that's when I want the pyrotechnics to go off so we can see the audience. So when I'm singing, it's
you
when he
wanted
doesn't have to
like,
read to him.
Go off into the audience so you can see faces.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking.
Cool.
So while I'm
like
doing the chorus, as I'm putting air quotes up for chorus, while I'm just really screaming, that's when Thrain, because he's not going to have to read and doesn't have to look at the book, he can look out into the audience and see who's like, yeah, got that look on their face. Like, this is awesome. Grumsh is the best.
Cool.
Evil stuff.
And they might think that Moradin is an ironic name.
Yeah, we're super hipster.
I'm going to toss out, since they are not fully defined, the pyrotechnics can come out and also act as an audience blinder. It's a thing that you use in theater where the lights shine directly in the audience face to prevent them from seeing stuff. They do it at the end of the full Monty because, they're naked.
Their butts.
That's why I wear sunglasses when I go to the full moon. Take that.
I put sunglasses on my camera.
Okay,
Alrighty.
so we're starting to go. So I go, Grollo, make up your own lyrics.
Okay, play some music. Am I saying this in Orcish?
Whatever you want.
Okay. When the leap pies are so burnt, it makes your heart sink with a girl, and it's fun, leap pies.
And then I have some Orcish here. So say Anuk Arawan Damu Dam Dinkliklix.
Anuk damu dan random dicklicks.
The fact that you didn't get it perfectly right is so in character.
And that's when Shush is going to go over there and go, oh, and you guys can see.
Gariki Garugmal.
Kariki kalugmal.
Kazak Kamash Duman.
Kazak Kazamal.
Kamash Duman.
Kamash Tuman.
So I'm looking out in the audience.
Cool.
No.
Everybody give me, I guess, perception checks. But Thrain, you can roll yours with advantage. Because your focus here is really, really on trying to spot.
12.
9.
14.
Okay.
Not great.
Thrain, Grollo, you're focused on screaming and trying to
Swinging my
apparently
maul and
recite these lyrics. And you guys are seeing there is a sort of a small crowd that's coming up that's becoming a part of the performance that you're doing and kind of getting into it a little bit. Some of them are a little bit more artsy looking. Mm-hmm. Maybe they're appreciating the sort of odd counterpoints to musical culture that you're presenting within this, and there's a few of them that are like kind of bobbing their heads along with the music that you're playing. Shush is actually playing very
well.
like really on tempo and really like keeping up a good musical track.
Right.
So it's and the genre really leans into Grollo's kind of shouting and
Is Shush getting a little bit of that rush that he wanted?
I mean, but I'd rather than be dancing than just bobbing their heads, but I'll take it.
they're picking up on it a little bit.
Right.
As you start saying some of the lyrics, you can see two things happen. The first is there's one or two people that are in the crowd that sort of their face scrunches up like they clearly are recognizing it and they're saying like where do I know that from? And they're sort of they look confused by the look. But you also notice at least a dozen more people in nearby some of the other stages that are catching the edges of what you're saying. And those people all turn around. And as they turn around, they sort of nudge other people, and you can see other people that are also like turning around and kind of looking at the stage in your direction. And they all head over and they start sort of rocking out with the music. You're attracting like a bigger crowd at this point. And when you get to the places where you start doing the ancient Orcish, the people who headed over, who clearly sort of noticed it right away, start kind of rocking out along with you in those moments, and they're like jumping up and down, and they start dancing along with the lyrics as you're saying them. They're clearly digging your ancient Orcish lyrics.
Can I teach them how to mosh?
I
want to do a mosh pit.
Yeah. So the question I have for you is, Thrain, do you stop and change the lyrics at this point, or do you
I guess as
keep
an
it going,
experiment,
knowing
yeah,
that
I
this is
stopped for a
strange
second.
experiment.
I stopped
have
for a
plan.
bit.
Let's. I want to mosh pit, and then I want to thunder wave everybody who's in the mosh pit.
You're gonna do what?
I'm gonna
Thunder wave.
Isn't it like you'd kill some of them?
They're evil,
Oh.
aren't they? If they know the lyrics of the sacrifice song.
Well, we're out in the
there's-
open, one, and two, I don't know if we know that. Like they could be people who went to a service where they were inadvertently hearing chanting of
Shush is having a real conflict right now because people like his music,
Yeah.
but they're maybe potentially like sacrificial.
yeah, maybe that's your end. It's like, wait,
Yeah, I don't
like
know.
I'm getting attention. Like I don't want them to die.
So do I switch it up to other stuff right now, right?
Yeah, I just say whatever you want to. Leap eyes again.
When the blood runs in the morning.
So I'm really looking at those two people.
The two that were originally in the audience.
Yeah, do they look sketchy at all to me?
The part that really gets to Thrain is they're not even orcs. One of them is a dwarf who is still wearing what looks to be like a baking apron, and one of them is a human, and they don't look especially sketchy. They don't look like they are your classic kind of cult dwellers.
And the other people, what are they look like they like the music.
They do, and some of them do look sketchy. Some of the other people who come over, you do see a few faces that are like sketchier looking people, and a few orcs and half orcs that are kind of within that crowd too.
Oh, okay.
Do they know the lyrics? Like
Yeah, are they mouthing it?
that's the thing that I was trying to figure out. Are they just like because we're such a good. Moradin is so awesome, or are they like, oh yeah, I know these lyrics?
Do we need more time?
Yeah, no. I think that
No more singing.
No more singing. You don't see them mouthing the lyrics.
So I shouldn't jump in the audience and kill half.
But you also don't know. So these are like deep rituals, right?
Right.
So this guy who was doing the ritual, even he was using a ritual guide.
book.
So you don't know whether or not they're not mouthing lyrics because they.
Oh, and they're hypnotizing people and stuff like that, like brainwashing people. So,
Okay.
We have a lead on two people.
So but the leads are different. So I lock on to those two guys, and then I also lock on to the sketchiest looking orc.
Okay.
what if you tell me to say something like,
Down with
then we
Moradin.
sacrifice, something like that?
Well, that's what this is saying, kind
I mean,
of.
that's
but,
basically
I
what
see.
the ancient orc is.
Yeah.
It's like describing.
Well,
like,
so I go back to the lyrics and really watch the sketchy orc and the two guys.
Yeah.
And Malrun Malkarash,
Malrun Malkarash,
Morth Al Hag Natak,
Molfal Harfratag,
Betal Al Nathrakari.
Betal Al Nathrakari.
So I'm really looking at these guys
Yeah.
now.
They're digging it.
They're happy.
Yeah, they're having a great time. They're like super enjoying the music, and you can tell at least the orcs in the crowd must know what the lyrics are saying, even if they aren't like true worshippers of Groomsh or whatever.
right.
Like
Right,
it's
that's true.
in a old Orcish, but it's a Orcish enough that if they speak Orcish, they would know
Right.
what it's actually saying. So at this point, it's starting to become, and actually you're attracting a bigger and bigger crowd, and so it's starting to become a little unclear who is coming over because it's rock and death metal music, a
may wanna wrap
genre
up
they've
our
never
song,
heard before.
get the hell
And then I signal to Shush like to wrap up the song.
How does the song come to an end?
He's gonna thunderwave and destroy all the instruments on stage.
And then I go,
But are you gonna hit the people, or are you gonna?
No, I know. I think that's the wrong choice, but I am gonna hit all of the microphones,
Okay.
all those microphone ones, so that nobody else can perform on the stage.
and
And
then
then
I'm,
go, like have enough explosion that we can disappear before like all the light settles. Sort of like
okay.
Full Monty.
Yeah.
and I say, and that's the way it grows.
explosions, and then we disappear.
Awesome. I'm not going to make you roll for any of that. That's spectacular. The explosion does indeed destroy a huge portion of these stages. These stages are designed to last a few days. They're not permanent stages, so your explosion doesn't just like wreck all the like microphone wands that are on the edge of the stage, which go flying out into the audience. But it also kicks up all of the dust and grime that has collected on the stage over the last 2 days of performances, and bursts it into the air, and then the entire stage basically is collapsing as you make your exit, stage rear, I guess, on your way down, and the stage falls apart. And you can hear, even as you're making your exit, the crowd goes wild. They love it. They're cheering like crazy, and clearly somebody must have gotten the band name, because now they're shouting, Moradin! 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 And they're all chanting it in your absence as you
One
leave
way
the
or the
stage.
other.
One way or the other.
I'm gonna turn these minds to
By
Moradin.
crook or by musical hook.
It does present an interesting problem, because as the four of you all get down off the stage and you start making your way back through the crowd, you're all wearing incredibly recognizable outfits.
Yeah.
Let's grab some ugly sweaters.
And some of the people, in the crowd start recognizing you, and some of them start sort of grabbing at you and tugging at your ponchos. And the people are maybe rowdier than you thought they would be, and as they start grabbing and tugging at your ponchos, are tearing portions of your like little bits of your poncho.
I try to make my way over to at least one of those groups.
Roll me a perception check.
Perception of 15.
You start making your way over, but the crowd is thick at this point.
And I'm short. So.
And you're short. You come over. You have the images of what they look like in your mind, but you don't. This is a city of hundreds of thousands of people. You don't know who they are.
Yeah.
So you just start wading through the crowd, but you are unable to locate any of the three that you like really took stock of.
Okay.
And you're certain that some of these people in the crowd, especially some of the people who are kind of tugging at your trying to get a little piece of
Moradin.
the sweet band Moradin. Some of them are almost definitely Groom worshippers, but at this point you have no real way of being able to tell one from another.
Right.
Especially knowing that apparently there's no real symbols, or there's no real thing that you can use to quickly identify them.
I try to make my way, and I'm trying to signal to follow me to more of like an open area, maybe like as far away from the stage as possible, but near the crowd, sort of making our way through the crowd. And I'm really looking for any sketchy individuals.
Are you trying to get away from the?
I'm trying to get out.
Kind of
I'm trying to get
Or
out.
are you trying to bring them with you?
I'm trying both, but I'm trying to thin the crowd out a little bit, so I can,
like Beatles style.
trying to get a little bit more control over the situation.
And Shush is signing autographs.
Shush, roll me a dexterity saving throw.
That is 15.
Shush, you're signing autographs, and these fans are hard to deal with fans. They loved your performance.
They're punk rocker people.
They're punk rockers. They are. Some of them are like asking for autographs and being patient, and some of them are definitely not waiting for that. And you're getting pushed and pulled and tugged about, and it is starting to make you
see
uncomfortable.
this.
Now I'm going to teach them how to mosh.
I see this and I like stop and I turn around and I start trying to hold them back to protect Shush. Get back!
It definitely they see you being as much a member of Moradin as anyone else. They do the same thing to you, but with you protecting Shush, you're able to sort of cover them a little bit. The same thing is happening to you, Thrain. They're tugging and following you along, but some of them are dropping off as you're trying to like make your way out of the crowd. There are definitely some people who are falling back or who are dropping off out of it. Probably going to see other concerts and stuff like that. So you are thinning out the people who are.
So now I
following.
really start looking at any faces to see like if I can sense any facial expressions that look like they're not just fans, but they have a concerned look. You know what I mean?
You're not picking up much of anything. The reality is like at this point it's a huge
sea,
crowd of people. It's a sea of faces, and it's difficult for you to pick out just who might be worshippers of Grumsh and who might be just fans of the music.
That Pentel really came through with getting us on stage, huh?
Yeah, absolutely. Whiskers must have known to pull a few strings. Shush, man, amazing.
Oh yeah,
You
shush.
are-
I kind of clap him a little too hard on the back.
You're an amazing musician. I had no idea how proficient you were.
Thank you, Brain. That means a lot, actually.
Really good. It was the second best thing about our performance for sure.
Thanks, Grillo. I appreciate your honesty.
What was the first best thing? My tambourine. I was
That was
doing
very
a lot
good,
of,
too.
I was doing a lot of good. I was really hammering it away.
You were very good.
Yeah.
I'm sure you were good.
You couldn't hear me?
Well, in all honesty, when I sing, I get really into my performance.
At this point, you guys have managed to make it out of the crowd enough to have most of the people, have all the people kind of fall back. You were able to sneak your way away from some of it. And Thrain, you're still really searching for faces.
Because
for
someone in the
anything.
back could have like signaled someone like get the guys because these guys need to be questioned, And so I'm really like, is anyone like looking at us or
Thrain, given the sort of circumstances of everything, I want you to roll me a insight check and use advantage for this.
I think a 9, if I'm not mistaken. Or no, sorry, 13.
Okay. Thrain, you gather a couple of things from the experience. The first is that you figure out that this has been a long time. I think what we said before was 8 years.
Yeah.
It's been 8 years of infiltrating this church into this city. But it's also been very strongly supported by a lot of people. So this isn't too dissimilar from something like Scientology. The chances are really good. Previously, you thought this was an underground movement. This was something that people had done, and there was a small group of people that were doing this. Now you're getting a sense for this may be more infused into this city than you ever imagined was possible.
So it's like familiar, wonderful, happy words that they've heard in sermons and stuff.
Or they're part of an inner circle and are helping to perform sacrifices on people.
Oh, more
And they
people.
are happy about it.
Right. But either way, you now know that it's not, a small group of orcs that are taking place in
Right,
the
because
city.
the sacrifice ceremony, there was like the main orc guy, and then another guy who was sort of sneaky, but then there were like a bunch of other acolytes, right?
Right, and not all of them were orcs, and not all of them were, but they were clearly enough worshippers of Grumsh.
And
that they,
weak like regular common folk.
Right.
Like, I imagine if we were, in real life singing lyrics from Mein Kampf or something, trying to find like, white nationalists or Nazi supporters. Well, they would recognize the lyrics maybe, and they'd be like, yeah, but it wouldn't necessarily mean that, we wouldn't know, are they the ones doing the killings? They just happen to be supporters. Like, what's the, because it's like so familiar to them. They're just like in that world.
Well, maybe a more apt analogy in that direction would be to read, some veiled white nationalist language in a particular sort of crowd, in a particular sort of town, right? Like the wall and immigrants and rapists, and it'll be a lot of people will be like, yeah, absolutely,
right. And it'd be hard to tell.
if they were like actual Nazis, or they were just indoctrinated after 10 years of propaganda.
The other worthwhile thing to keep in mind is if you were followers of Grumsh and you got up on stage and decided that you were going to perform a bunch of actual lyrics from the things of Grumsh, you imagine that they would be on board with that. That would be like
Right.
a fun thing for them to appreciate. Is you're taking the stuff that they've been clearly deeply indoctrinated to and getting it out.
And I got them all as he yelled Moradin at the end.
Yeah.
That's totally true. and you have no idea whether or not they're yelling it in support of the real Moradin, or probably more likely in support of your rock group. But
I'm just hoping that
it is still
Moradin,
a
my
step in the
god,
right direction.
noticed something and is genius enough to know what happened
What's
and
really
what's
going
going
on.
to happen. You know?
Totally. But it does give you that extra information.
Yeah, I guess
Train.
that is good information.
You know that even though you didn't necessarily find the sort of traders to the city that you thought you were going to find, it does give you. This is a big problem.
Yeah.
This city's in a bad place for a lot of this, and whatever is going to happen in 2 weeks is going to be a problem internally in the city, even if nothing else
Right.
plays a role in that.
Right. Interesting. Yeah. Okay.
I just realized, and Shush just realized this, after Threen and him are awkwardly sitting back at Pentel's house, like twiddling our thumbs
While Grollo
while Grollo is making pies, that like we probably need to get Cruddy out of the city. We probably need to get Cruddy and Pentel out of the city because
They're
their
on the
names
list.
were on a list.
But I
And
have
they-
the list now.
And they're
You
alive.
do have a
But we
list.
don't know if they're
There's other
good
lists.
list makers make multiple lists, I think.
They have backups. Yeah.
Yeah, right? So if there's like
Well, I mean, they
if somebody
were
goes
on the list.
everybody's dead.
Yeah.
They were on the list.
Yeah.
So just because we saved them doesn't mean that they're saved.
Right. Right.
That's what I mean. And also, like, if there's another list,
Yeah.
and then Cruddy's on that list also, and then they're like, oh,
Right.
here's a big pile of dead people who
Right,
were
right,
supposed to do that. Then they're going to go, hey, Cruddy, where were you last night?
Right.
Right.
And then they're going to
True.
torture her and kill her.
And especially, we just saw that they're all around.
Yes. So I think Shush is going to tell Threen that, like, while we're sitting in Pentel's living
Yeah.
room with the cat.
Yeah, you're right.
Pentel's place is exactly how you would imagine it. It's very old, dusty furniture that's covered in cat hair, and Pentel has offered you tea that is not very good, and you keep having to pick pieces of cat hair out of your tea as you're trying to sip at it. And Pentel has started to. For lack of better entertainment, has started to read you entries from his diary. By the way, you guys caught Daniel's face as you were leaving the stage,
Oh, right.
and Daniel was just white as a sheet, staring at the stage that you had collapsed, with their hands like in their hair, just devastated by the destruction that you left.
And doesn't he at this point see that there's no actual Moradin written on the?
Daniel, if Daniel goes back through their
Right.
chart, yeah, they see
'Cause he
there's-
wasn't-
There's no Morden. You like illusioned that in
Yeah.
very temporarily. So Daniel has no idea who you are,
Right.
or you didn't pay your deposit. There's no there's no recourse that Daniel has to really find you. Perfect. Okay. You're back at Pentel's house.
Sipping kitty tea.
So is the plan then is the next piece that you guys want to do? Is it to try to take Cruddy and Pentel out from the
Well, the first thing I want to do.
City?
So this is the morning.
yeah, we can assume unless you want to do something that night, you
No.
can assume.
Do we rest? Do we
you
heal?
Make it to morning. Do you stay with Pentel?
Yeah.
He has like a guest room. It's a single guest room, so it's the three of you.
Better than
in
sleeping
this
on the road.
Little guest room that he puts you up in. He actually is really reluctant to put you up in his guest room. He's clearly uncomfortable with it. You're not even really sure why he has a guest room because he doesn't seem like the kind of guy that would have a lot of guests. But he does because you saved his life and he feels obligated to do so. But you stay the night in his guest room, and it comes around to morning.
Do we heal some?
You do. You're all fully healed.
Okay.
You have all your spell slots back, all of your abilities back. Grollo, maybe I should make you make a Constitution saving throw.
Oh no!
No, you're fine.
That's what the 21 was for.
You feel
If anything, I
very
should get
well
a
rested.
little bonus, like a little.
You could also make it like a reflex save. Okay, so in the morning, I prepare augury, which is a spell asking my god about different things. And so I have to spend 25 gold on various different marked sticks and whatnot, and it takes me. So I say, so it's I lay down all the sticks and the dragon bones and the ornate cards and other kinds of tools on the floor of Montel Williams' living room floor, and I ask Moradin to give guidance, augury, of our plan to head out to the marshes to investigate further the cultists of Grumsh. And so the DM chooses from the following possible omens: Wheel, which is good results; Woe, which is bad results; Wheel and Woe, which is both good and bad results; or nothing for results that aren't especially good or bad. So I'm asking Moradin for guidance about my party and us and the fate of this town and everything. And, we're about to head out of town. And is this a bad idea? Is it a good idea? Is it both bad and good? Please, Moradin, give me guidance.
So Moradin gives you... what's the best way to do this? Okay. Moradin, you see both Wheel and Woe, which tells you only that it is both good and bad. And then as you're watching the spell execute, and you're watching the Wheel and the Woe appear, your vision starts to blur, and the it feels like the room shakes. And Shush, you and Nicholas watch as Thrain passes out in the middle of casting his spell as he's performing this sort of ritualistic spell, and you watch as he's performing it, and then all of a sudden he just collapses to the ground. And Thrain, while you are looking at the Wheel and the Woe, they are almost like burned into your image. You can feel yourself pass out, but you also see the Wheel and the Woe still in front of you, and you can see them shift. So that each one is split in half, and there are two sort of halves of Wheel and halves of Woe, almost like they are one sort of completes into the other one, like a Ouroboros. Is that the snake kind of eating itself? Yeah. It's almost like the Wheel and the Woe are deeply connected to each other, and you see as your vision sort of flies through the world itself. You can see, you almost feel your body, your spirit leave your body, and you are taken across the lands, and you can see underneath you the marshlands. You can see the marshes themselves in their incredibly confusing nature. They're hard to navigate. They're very, very difficult, and it would be a spectacularly good place for somebody to hide if they wanted to do so. And as you see the marshes, you can see what appears to be left of footprints. And torn clothing and broken branches, the things showing you that something was left here. And torn on one of the branches is the symbol of Grumsh, is the Eye of Grumsh, the modified one that you've seen, the one that
the Unity.
The Unity is like a piece of cloth that's torn and stuck on a branch, and you can see the destruction that has happened to this swampland. With many footprints and many broken branches, as the symbol sort of sits there, and you watch as one of the wheels superimposes on top of it and then fades away. And then all of a sudden your vision blurs again, and you are being taken off far away. And in this place far away, you're taken far north. Actually, you're taken to an area north that you're not familiar with. It appears to be off into the mountains to the north, and you're brought deep down into a cave, and you're traveling like through walls. You're not really given a path. You're given like this sense of like suddenly you're in a cave, and then you're in a wall again, and then suddenly you're in a cave and you're in a wall again, until eventually you wind up in what appears to be an old temple. And in this old temple, rather than the sense of dread that you had while you were in the marshes, you feel something pulling you. You feel a sense of calm and relief. And you can see that sitting in this old temple that clearly has been abandoned a long, long time ago, but you can see writing from ancient dwarfs. You can see the writing that extends past all these areas that has been rubbed over the rubbings of time. And you can see that behind you, the entrance to the temple is completely caved in. But sitting in the middle of the temple on a pedestal covered in dust and dirt, you can see a hammer. And the hammer sits there, and you can feel in that moment the other wheel comes down, and you sort of once again see it superimposed over the hammer, and then it fades away. And then you snap back, and Nicholas is taking a jug of water and he's throwing it on top of your face as you get snapped back, and he's shaking you because he doesn't really know how to do anything else. And he goes, "Are you okay? Oh my gosh, you just like passed out there."
I'm okay, thank you. And I'm wiping all the face out or the water out of my beard. Many things that the god of Moradin show me. Our path is clear. To the marshes we go.
I wish I was here to say something.
Let's make sure we get Grollo first.
Yes.
I think he's important for this.
That might actually be the best place to end it.
Yeah.
We'll have to resolve Cruddy and Pentel the next time when we come back. But for
it's
now,
occurring to
you're
me
headed
that
to the
you guys
marshes.
are probably going to have to come extra early. So I'm not, because we probably want to leave before everyone starts waking up.
Before the fans show up.
Yeah, just before the city wakes up.
Yeah, we have to get out of here before Cruddy gets
Nabbed again.
Cruddy and Pentel both get reclaimed by the cultists.
I am kind of imagining that you left the doors closed to the church. Did you do anything with the bodies?
We didn't say we did. I thought we probably should have.
Yeah, that seems odd.
Did it?
We're just like, all right, we're gonna go get some leaf pies and make some music.
But on the
In true adventurer style, you're like, well, we killed these people.
Just leave them there. The bodies will blink a couple of times and disappear.
yeah. On the other hand, I was thinking like, what could we have done? Like carried out.
Well, we would have
like-
been very conspicuous.
Yeah,
Yeah.
And we couldn't hide them nearby because they would have been discovered, and it wouldn't take long for them to figure out something went wrong.
Someone's gonna find them.
That's why we gotta get out of here.
So it's like, well, just leave it.
It's also worthwhile to point out that you guys took the evidence showing that they are like deep cult members doing bad stuff.
Yeah,
You took it with you.
yeah.
So anybody who would discover the bodies that isn't a member of like the deep bad stuff, cult stuff, would not find it and then think it was suspicious. They would just find
But they were.
they would just find members of the church who apparently had been slaughtered in their church late
Where's
at
the
night.
victims that you claim? It's like, no, we saved them. Oh, really? Where are they? We hid them. Oh,
They're in protection.
yikes.
Right.
We're screwed.
Moradin.
We could go back and we could put we could hide some evidence on their bodies.
Or we could just be like, this is outrageous. Whoever killed them must be punished. We're Moradin. We are going to. We will rock a benefit concert so we can.
Just play both sides.
yeah.
Admittedly,
For our boys in blue.
all of you are already designated as dead by the city.
That's true.
Oh yeah.
So at the very least, you won't be suspects.
Nice.
So I have to say that role play between Grollo and Cruddy was amazing. like it started out, jovial, funny, and comical, and then it actually got real there.
Got real, like the real world.
Yeah, like with the new god and her mom and
Right.
and
I gotta say, I was actually anxious for real.
Orc pride and
Right. I was trying to role play, of course, him being awkward, but it was anxious because this Cruddy lady is hard to figure out, and so I'm like, and I wanted the scene to work out, but I'm like, I don't know how this is gonna work out. But it was great, and then it was good to have the support of Shush, the Roxanne support.
I was wondering how many times we'd have to make like bird noises in the background.
Cuckoo! Fucking coo!
How many how deep the repertoire of bird noises between Kirk and I actually is.
Okay, I really want someone out there who can draw to draw some picture of Grollo and Cruddy. I just like maybe when as Cruddy is falling into Grollo's arms.
Right.
I just have to see that.
We're cooking leap pies.
I want a picture of a window that shows like the outside of a window with Cruddy and Shush. Or sorry, Cruddy and Grollo like staring at each other over a delicious leap pie with like maybe a little bit of subtle romance emerging between them, and then underneath the windowsill is the two of us making bird noise.
Yeah.
like trying to hide under the windowsill.
Right.
So that was the way I pictured that.
Well, normally we do a little bit of a checkout. We'll do maybe a real quick one where we do a spotlight for other people. It sounds like we already kind of gave up a few of those, but I think it would be great to have that.
Yeah.
Who wants to lead us in a spotlight for someone else?
Well, I just did mine, right?
Yeah, I guess
sure.
so.
Yeah.
I mean, I was going to say, so character-wise, I was very happy that Shush got his chance to really shine in a stage. And actually, even though we were all doing the little subterfuge, he really played his heart out and apparently played really well. So, great job, Shush. I also give props to the game master here, the dungeon master, because the Cruddy scene was very, very intense.
Yeah, I mean, I thought it was gonna have some element like that, but it went so much deeper, you know, and had so much more story element to it.
Well, and actually,
And if someone made a movie, that's how they would write the screenplay, right? It's like,
Right.
well, not only is this going to be some character development and relationship development, but also let's add some broader like story here. Let's move the plot forward, you know?
Right.
Absolutely, and like so in my mind, it all of a sudden like I saw this whole other arc for Grollo, right? Because he literally didn't know about this other god, and so he kind of wanders, not really having a god. He might in the right circumstances say, "Oh, Moradin seems pretty cool," but he's not really a Moradin follower, and so he doesn't really have a faith. And all of a sudden, he's like, "Oh, well, that sounds pretty interesting." And the other part is he'd always hated his dad. And he thought, well, a lot of the reason I hate him is because he's an orc, so he probably hates that half of his that's orcish. And here's this person giving him, like, she could have been like, oh, you hate orcs? My mom was an orc. I hate you. Get out. Instead, she was like, it's funny you should say that, right? And then she gives him this other perspective about orcs. So that's a whole other growth arc there.
Yeah.
And then there's the part of like learning how to read and write that he's probably going to want to take up, not to mention cooking. So it's really actually wonderful. It's a wonderful development.
He's becoming domestic.
Yeah. He's,
Domestic Grollo.
Renaissance.
Yeah, so maybe another picture with Grollo in an apron in front of the thing, using his maul to beat a dead goat.
With beer all over his sweater.
Yeah, and torn up.
Yeah, and torn up. Yes.
That's fantastic. My spotlight goes to Umberto for role playing that scene, and like watching the role play there. Not just on Grollo for the journey, but for you for playing that journey that Grollo is going on.
Thanks, man.
Yeah, I mean, you're a funny guy. You like to joke around, but
Whoa, how am I funny?
You call
I
it
make
funny?
you laugh?
you got into. I mean, have you ever had a role playing D&D moment like that before, where it gets into more complicated feelings like that?
Not really, because I mean, I was so young when I did, role play a bit, and like, I think it was never that deep,
Right. Yeah.
Because like you said, like this one, it was a funny scene, but then it actually got a little tender, if you will. So yeah, it's kind of neat.
And dare I say, kind of relevant to your own personal life in terms of like pride and connection with
Right.
family that
Totally.
has issues and
Yeah, absolutely, and not knowing how to cook. Yeah, totally.
and turning to humor when you're uncomfortable.
Absolutely. Well, I mean, literally. And I actually, the way I am in a kitchen tends to be the way that Grollo was. I'd be like,
A mall.
do I take the meat out? Yeah. No, it's true. Definitely, as you always say, the person puts a little bit of themselves into the character.
Whether you like it or not.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was amazing to watch. It was really, really special to watch. I mean, that's the kind of magic that I hope listeners out there can pick up on, that you can't experience in any other kind of game. This is not a video game. You could never have that in a video game. and I don't think in 100 years you'll be able to have that kind of experience in a video game.
Well,
It's-
except Leisure Suit Larry, of course.
of course, it's just too complicated.
Very similar experience. To Leisure Suit.
Because well, correct me if I'm wrong, Adam. As you were DMing that scene, you're improving. You don't really know exactly what's going to happen. You have a couple beats that you're thinking, well, maybe we'll go in this direction, but you have no idea what Birdo's going to do with Grollo. You have no idea what it's going to feel like, because it didn't feel shoehorned in. It was a transition into it,
Yeah.
and so it's created in the moment. It's something that just bubbles out of the air in an improv situation.
I was trying to do a thing where like I knew I still needed to bumble my way through, because there's no way all of a sudden Grollo becomes suave, right? But at the same time I needed to not bumble too far. Like it's like, okay, how do I like stop? And it helped to have the foil or the plot device of, okay, well, I have some signal of when I'm going too far, because this little friend of mine is cuckooing or whatever.
Right.
So that's funny.
I mean, ultimately, I actually was entirely unsure when I prepped for today's game whether or not you were going to pursue anything
Right.
with Cruddy, or whether or not Cruddy was going to just leave and say like, thanks so much for saving me, and be gone. So it was in response to the stuff that you did, that we were like, okay, I guess we're heading towards this scene. Let's figure out what this scene looks like. And actually, the same thing is true for the concert. I had planned previously that you guys might want to do the concert, since you had gotten the outfits, but that was in the last session.
Right.
I actually had no idea you would want to try to do the concert with the lyrics. and
Well, we
everything
nearly
like that. So-
abandoned the
But such a great idea.
When you suggested, I was like, well, we should come back to that. It's a great idea. Let's see how that
I
plays
think it
out.
was mainly Shush's idea, but and as soon as I was like, oh yeah, this is going to be interesting. But also, I want to comment on your DMing in that scenario too, in that I, as a player, was legitimately confused as to what I was seeing. You know what I mean? Like I was like really trying to figure out, like, because you were describing that in a very accurate way, but I was like unclear what it meant. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And that was exactly what my character would have felt.
Yep.
It wasn't like you were saying, well, so your character's kind of confused because you played it out, and so I was over here like, I want to know more, so I kept experimenting to like figure out like, how do I get to the bottom of like, what
Right.
am I seeing?
Well,
what I mean?
and what would happen in most video games is you are supposed to play this show, and you are supposed to see the one or two people that actually end up grimacing just enough, and then you're supposed to give chase.
They're going to put a
Here,
little
like-
exclamation point above their head.
Right.
They
Yeah.
wouldn't give you the option of doing that scenario if it didn't have some definitive payoff.
In most games, that's absolutely true. So in this case, we may not have done the concert, and we did the concert, and it may have yielded, and it didn't, and it's great.
it kind of yielded, but not what we
exactly.
thought it was going to yield.
One of the great things that I love about games like Dungeons and Dragons is that a lot of the game is uncovering mystery. And one of my favorite things to do as a game master is I want to give you breadcrumbs enough for you to uncover the pieces of what's going on. So in my ideal scenario, and sometimes this doesn't work out, and sometimes it does, but in my ideal scenario, I want to give you enough of the outlying pieces for you to put the whole thing together yourself. And in the pieces of the game, every time you do something that has the opportunity to discover another piece, I want to give you another piece of that puzzle. But it doesn't always have to be the piece that you were shooting for. Sometimes you discover a piece to the puzzle that was in a different direction, or that was in a different way, and that's really the secret to mystery. Is that you go and you talk to the butcher because you think he's the one who committed the murder, and it turns out the butcher wasn't the one who committed the murder, but his assistant did. And so you're discovering more and more as you go along, that gives you extra information, even when you don't discover the thing you think you were going to discover.
Like a good Scooby-Doo episode.
Like a good Scooby-Doo. Turns out it was old man McGillicuddy the whole time.
If it wasn't for those pesky kids. Grillo, you're obviously Shaggy, or
No, I'm
I think you're Scooby Doo, actually.
As long as I'm
Nicholas
not
would be
Scrappy Doo.
Yeah, Nicholas would make a good Shaggy, actually.
Yeah.
I just heard a
Dwayne
massive.
is like Fred. Oh no, you're Velma.
Yeah,
Oh,
because I'm short.
Yeah, you're totally
Right.
Velma.
I'm stout.
Right. I don't know if we
My
have
glasses.
a
And
Fred.
actually
My
figure
glasses.
stuff out.
Yeah, we don't. We need a Fred.
We need a Fred, right?
I don't think Fred ever served actually a very important
That's why we
role in
should
that.
we should get the cat guy to come with us. He could be
Be
Fred.
Fred.
Yeah,
Shush is a good. The other gal.
Velma.
No.
Daphne.
Daphne, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's
the
pretty
flashy
true.
one.
I just look good.
You're
You
flashy.
look good.
That's-
Yeah.
Style. And then we need a Fred.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thanks out there for joining us out there, for being out there on our 7th Dungeons and Dragons therapy session episode out there.
Out there.
Please take care of yourself, because
You deserve it out there.
how would you say that in Orcish?
Oh.
Rag Allah,
Rug Allah.
Torak Ul,
Torek. Ooh.
Zuwar Nei.
Suna.
So what I just said there was calm down, giant spider, sacred hunters, and come here.
Basically the same thing as you deserve it.